Chapter 215. Everyone was very surprised. What was going on? Why did they bring him in? It looked like they were going to settle the score with the Jiang family. Did the Jiang family owe them? The man was pushed in and fell to the ground. When he looked up, he saw a bruised and swollen face. The Jiang family members present all recognized him. He was Jiang Hao's driver, Master Fu. Jiang Hao stood up from his seat and pointed at the driver angrily. Jiang Xiaoyu, what do you mean by this? However, thinking about what happened yesterday, Jiang Hao seemed to be a little scared. Jiang Xiao said, "Don't you know what I mean?" After the incident yesterday, the driver who caused the accident drove away. Jiang Xiao asked the Wang family members to catch him overnight. This guy was too calm. After killing someone, he returned home as if nothing had happened. He ate and slept as usual. It could be seen that he had done such things often. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so calm. Jiang Hao said, "I don't know what you're talking about. Let me tell you, kid, hurry up and let him go. Although Master Fu is my driver, you can't act recklessly." Jiang Xiao said, "Jiang Hao, now that things have come to this, do you think you can still hide it?" The driver raised his head and looked at Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao knew what was going on and glared at him fiercely. The driver was scared out of his wits. He cried and shouted, I was forced. Jiang Hao's expression became very ugly. Jiang Xiao, what did you do to him? Jiang Xiao said, What did I do to him? Ha 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 ha. The laughter stopped abruptly. Jiang Xiao's voice became cold and contained a terrifying anger. Just yesterday afternoon, this person drove a car and wanted to kill my in-laws. Wow. The people present couldn't help but exclaim softly. Jiang Yi and Lin Yueling's expressions changed greatly. Cheng Hanlin's accident yesterday wasn't an accident, but a murder? Don't slander us. That's right. Why would second brother order Master Fu to hit your in-laws all of a sudden? Even Jiang Yi and Lin Yueling were puzzled. Jiang Xiao said, Because he wanted to silence them. 12 years ago, you Jiang Hao know to be exact, you old Master Jiang, couldn't stand my father's continuous progress in his official career with his own efforts and ability after leaving the Jiang family. You thought it was a disgrace and a challenge to your authority in the Jiang family. You wanted to sue everyone and tell them that leaving the Jiang family wouldn't have a good ending. So you madly asked Jiang Hao to go to Jiang City, forced my father's best friend, framed my father, and finally destroyed him. Jiang Yi's brain was about to explode. He turned his head to look at Old Master Jiang in disbelief. Old Master Jiang's eyes were so wide that they almost fell out and were covered with blood. Jiang Yi asked, Is it true? Let me ask you, is what you said about the minor repairs true? In the end, his voice was almost roaring. Old Master Jiang said coldly, What's with your attitude? How can you talk to your father like this? Jiang Yi's eyes were bloodshot and he said, Let me ask you, is it true or not? Old Master Jiang said, So what? I just want to teach you a lesson. What's wrong with a father teaching his son a lesson? Silent tears flowed from Jiang Yi's eyes. No, those tears were red, blood, tears of blood. Lin Yueling was shocked, and the people present sighed. A father teaching his son a lesson? Is this a father teaching his son a lesson? Back then, we had already broken off our relationship. You want to take revenge on me? You are my enemy, the enemy who harmed me. Old Master Jiang said, Humph, so what? No one who betrays the Jiang family has a good ending. Jiang Yi looked at the man in front of him and felt that he was extremely terrible. The man in front of him was so cold-blooded and ruthless that it made his hair stand on end. Ha ha ha, he laughed out loud. His laughter was so sad and bitter. It was ridiculous that he still had hope for this person and this family. It was actually this person who had caused him to go to prison for 10 years, caused his wife to lose her husband, caused his child to lose his father, and suffered the cold treatment of the outside world and suffered the contempt of time. The anger of revenge rose in his heart. Lin Yueling's eyes were also burning with hatred, and she roared angrily, You devil! Old Master Jiang's whole body trembled as he said, So what? My Jiang family is indeed in a bit of trouble now, but if I want to deal with you, it will be as easy as crushing an ant. Your whole family will be mine. Your son must marry Nangang Ko or your whole family will go to hell. Jiang Yi and Lin Yueling looked at him angrily, but they couldn't express their fear in words. The Jiang family was like a giant, and they couldn't bear it even if they moved a finger, just like 12 years ago. You are still as stupid as the year before. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Jiang Xiu shook his head with a smile. Do you think that my family will be manipulated by you? Stop dreaming. I won't divorce Cheng Lingsu, and I won't marry Nangong Ko even if I really marry Nangong Ko, the condition is that the Nangong family will deal with your Jiang family. Jiang Yishan, wake up. You are finished. Old Master Jiang stared at Jiang Xiu with his tiger-like eyes without blinking. A terrifying smile rose from the corners of his mouth. Ignorant boy, do you think my Jiang family is as simple as you think? Do you think it will be so easy to destroy? Let me tell you, it is impossible for my Jiang family to be destroyed. Old Master Jiang glanced at his descendants in an imposing manner. My Jiang family has been in the capital for 50 years, and we have been through so many difficulties. How many powerful enemies have we faced? How many times have we been attacked? How many times have we been defeated? At this moment, a man ran in and said, Old Master, there is a guest from the Ji family. Ha ha ha. Old Master Jiang laughed. Let him in. The man left in a hurry. Old Master Jiang glanced at Jiang Xiu's family and said, I will show you the real foundation of my Jiang family. Then you can think about whether you will resist or obey. A group of people walked in from outside the courtyard. The leader was an old man in his 70s with white hair and a youthful face. The disciples behind him were all experts. Duke Ruowen, I am sorry to disturb you. Excuse me for not going out to meet you. Old Master Jiang imitated the way people of the martial world would greet them. He kept cupping his hands, but his manner and actions were neither fish nor fowl. It was ridiculous. Old Master Jiang, long time no see. Please take a seat. Duke Ruowen said. There is no need for that. The full moon has risen, and the appointed time has arrived. My master is already at Donglu Mountain, Sunset Peak. However, Old Master Jiang seems to have some family matters that he has yet to deal with. He saw a person tied up and thrown on the ground. His face was also bruised. Old Master Jiang sneered. Just a small matter, and you gave birth to an unfilial son. He refused to obey my Jiang family's discipline, and even said that my Jiang family will be destroyed. What a joke. Duke Ruowen said. With my Ji family here, who can destroy the Jiang family? The Jiang family's disciples were all shocked. Old Master Jiang nodded repeatedly with a proud look on his face. He turned to look at Jiang Xiu, who was sitting in his seat, and said, Did you hear what Duke Wen said? Ignorant fool. Being obedient is the smart thing to do. At this moment, there was an old man wearing a white robe sitting on top of Donglu Mountain's Sunset Peak. He leaned against a rock and looked up at the full moon in the sky. He was actually very relaxed. The moonlight scattered on his body and gave off a faint feeling of gathering without dissipating. It was as if there was a layer of soft light covering him, making him seem very dreamy. At the foot of the mountain, martial cultivators from all over China had flocked over. They wanted to witness the battle between the demigods. The martial arts forum was in an uproar. The full moon in the sky was rising higher and higher. Time passed by slowly. They looked at the famous demigod on Sunset Peak from afar. They felt that he was unattainable. At the entrance of the mountain, Cheng Lingsu and her 3 roommates followed Song Ronghao here. Su Su was supposed to be taking care of Cheng Hanlin in the hospital. However, ever since she found out that her father was harmed by the Jiang family and Jiang Xiu was going to fight with the Jiang family, she wanted to come no matter what. Oh my God, why do I feel that everyone here has an extraordinary aura? They all seem to have a great background. There were also experts from the Song family who came with Song Ronghao. The Song family had a lot of wealth. Of course, they had to have a corresponding force to protect them. However, they hired many advisors. Of course, everyone here today is a big shot. Chapter 216. Miao Shaolin and Xiao Fangfang's eyes lit up as they listened. They were not interested in the battle between demigods. They were mainly here to accompany Cheng Lingsu. Now that they saw so many big shots, They couldn't help but want to hook up with a rich husband. The guards along the way were stricter than usual. A man in black stopped them. "Your passes." Song Ronghao took out his pass with a proud look on his face. This pass was so hard to get that it made people speechless. If not for the Song clan's title as the richest family in Shanghai City, they wouldn't have been able to get it. The man in black checked it and said, "Your pass can only allow you to pass through 3 checkpoints. I can't really go up to the bottom of the fallen mountain." Song Ronghao's face revealed an awkward expression. He had already tried his best. This was the closest pass he could get. He explained, "The battle between demigods is too powerful. If we get too close, we will be injured accidentally." The naive Cheng Lingsu nodded. To her, as long as she could see Jiang Xiu fight with someone, she would know the result of the battle. Walking up the mountain path, the entire Donglu mountain was filled with people. Many of the cultivators found seats that were difficult to reach. Some stood at the top of the mountain, while others stood at the top of the cliff. They were all dignified, their eyes shining. "Damn, that person must be crazy. He's standing on such a thin branch. Isn't he afraid of falling to his death?" Miao Shaolin saw a person sitting on a towering tree. It was a branch that was only as thick as an arm. There was a cliff just outside. "Ha ha ha." That person laughed out loud. How could a martial cultivator fall from a mere tree branch? What a joke. Miao Shaolin and Xiao Fangfang were both shocked. They were dozens of meters away from that person, and yet they were still heard. Moreover, that person's voice sounded as if it was right next to their ears. They couldn't help but look at each other. This scene was like a scene from a martial arts world on TV. Cheng Lingsu had seen Jiang Xiu's abilities. It was even more terrifying than this. "Sorry for the lack of manners." The Song family's advisor cupped his hands and apologized politely to that person. Then he said to the girls, "Don't talk nonsense, lest you get into trouble." Miao Xiaolin and Xiao Fangfang shut their mouths in embarrassment. But after walking for a while, he couldn't help but speak again. In the distance, he saw a child who was only 5 or 6 years old. "Damn, are these adults crazy? I brought my friends here to watch such a bloody showdown." The advisor shook his head helplessly and said, "Battles between demigods have been rare since World War II. It could even be said that they have never happened again. Demigods are in charge of a region and rule over the world. They each have their own so-called territory and do not easily cause disputes. Only the rise of Jiang Luoxia, a new demigod, can stir up the world. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How can you miss it? Moreover, the insights you gain from watching a battle between demigods are enough for you to cultivate at home for 3 years." Miao Xiaolin's face was filled with disdain when she heard this. Why hasn't Jiang Luoxia come yet? Could it be that he's really scared? Someone looked up at the full moon. Didn't they say that he's already in the capital? Cheng Lingsu looked up and saw the half-real figure on the mountain. She guessed that it should be Jiang Xiu's opponent, the Jiang family's support, Ji Wudao. So powerful. The moonlight seemed to gather on his body. Looking at her, Cheng Lingsu had a feeling that this person should be in the heavens and not in the mortal world. Was Jiang Xiu really scared? Jiang Luoxia probably came to the capital to transfer abroad. Ha ha. 10 minutes, half an hour, an hour. Time passed little by little, and the night grew darker. Many people came in the day and waited until dusk, evening, and now it was nighttime. Is that Jiang Luoxia coming or not? I'm dying from waiting. Miao Xiaolin began to complain. It was a perfectly good mid-autumn night. If she foolishly stood in the mountain wind for an entire night, her feelings would be greatly hurt. Countless martial artists looked at her. It felt like she was being despised by people in the library. She awkwardly shut her mouth. In the courtyard of the Jiang residence, old Master Jiang's aura was astonishing. He looked at Jiang Xiu and his son with a gaze that seemed to want to completely crush them to death. It was as if those who submitted to him would prosper, and those who opposed him would perish. It had to be said that Master Jiang had been in a high position for a long time. His aura was truly terrifying. The Jiang family's disciples at the side were all trembling in fear. He abruptly turned and pointed a finger at the mountain peak. His finger was pointed in the direction of Ji Wudao, who had been condensed by the moonlight. Ignorant child. Do you see old immortal Ji at the foot of Sunset Peak? Dio Yutai has been wanting to touch me for a long time. But do you know why they haven't done anything yet? Even when such a big thing happened in Jiangnan, they only dared to remove a portion of my authority. That's because they have to consider whether they can withstand old immortal Ji's wrath if they offend my Jiang family. These words were overbearing and arrogant, but it was the truth. The change of dynasties was inevitable. Ji Wudao was an earth immortal for 500 years, starting from the Ming dynasty, then the Qing dynasty warlords, the Republic of China, and now the imperial power was nothing in front of him. In the immortal martial continent, the sects were also above the imperial power. Master Jiang had already raised his aura. He looked like he was going to kill anyone who stood in his way. The Ji family's disciples at the side were also arrogant. They were all proud of being a disciple of the Ji family. Ruowen gently stroked his beard and said calmly, "It's already past 9 o'clock. Jiang Luoxia hasn't appeared for a long time. I'm afraid it's like what the outside world said. He's afraid of my master's power and fled." A disciple at the side said, "It's been said in the martial arts world that Jiang Luoxia wouldn't dare to fight head-on with Grandmaster. In front of such a huge difference in power, even someone as arrogant as Jiang Luoxia was forced to flee. The opponent fled because he was afraid of Grandmaster's prestige." A disciple at the side was so excited that his whole body trembled. He couldn't help but shout, "Grandmaster is mighty." The other disciples also echoed, "Grandmaster is mighty. Grandmaster is mighty." Their voices spread far and wide in the night, echoing in the mountains of the east. Countless martial artists were shocked. It seemed like Jiang Luoxia didn't have the guts to appear in this battle. They looked at Ji Wudao at the foot of the Sunset Peak and couldn't calm down for a long time. Ji Wudao's reputation had risen to the peak. In the future, no one in China would dare to face him head-on. In fact, in the dark, there were a few important members of the fishing platform who were also watching. They shook their heads. If Ji Wudao didn't fall, they would have to reconsider if they wanted to touch Jiang Yishan. They couldn't help but shake their heads in disappointment. Grandpa Jiang laughed loudly. His eyes were filled with ferocity. "You want to topple my Jiang Yishan? It's still too early for you to do that. Kid, what are you going to do now?" Jiang Xiu said calmly, "Even if I'm willing to return to your Jiang family, your son Jiang Chong will definitely not agree. Your son Jiang Rong will definitely not agree. Even you won't be willing." Master Jiang said, "Nonsense. In this Jiang family, I have the final say." Jiang Xiu said, "Are you really willing? Bring him up." A person was pressed up. That person shouted in horror, "Dad, save me, save me." Everyone looked over and saw Jiang Zhan kneeling on the ground. Behind him stood a cold gun, staring at the back of Jiang Zhan's head. He trembled in fear. "Dad!" Jiang Hao was shocked. "Son." "Dad." Master Jiang was furious. "How dare you? You just held my grandson hostage. What do you want to do?" Jiang Xiu's expression was cold and undying. He said, "What do I want to do, Jiang Hao? What do you think I want to do? Do you think that I'll let this matter go just like that after bumping into someone?" Click. The sound of a gun bolt. "No!" Jiang Hao screamed in horror. Bang. The bullet pierced through his head. Jiang Zhan fell into a pool of blood. "You!" Master Jiang's eyes almost popped out. This time, it was really irreversible. His grandson was killed in public. The other members of the Jiang family would never accept Jiang Xiu again. Jiang Xiu sneered. "Now, are you still willing to accept my family?" "Humph. Don't dream about it." Looking at the confused Master Jiang, Jiang Xiu's eyes were like lightning. "Do you know who broke Jiang Heng's limbs? It was me. Do you know who killed Jiang Ao? It was me who told you. Do you know why your Jiang family fell into this situation? It was me who told you." "What? You? How did you?" Jiang Xiu's pupils opened like liquid, and his eyes turned dark. The outline of his eyes slowly changed, and his black hair grew out at a speed visible to the naked eye. "Are you surprised? Are you shocked?" As he spoke, Jiang Xiu stepped into the air, and under everyone's dumbfounded gazes, he soared into the air and actually flew towards the falling peak. "I am Jiang Luofeng. Luofeng," Someone in the distance exclaimed, "Look, Jiang Luoxiao is coming. My God, he is flying in the air." Chapter 217. When Jiang Yishan saw Jiang Xiu step on the void and soar into the sky like a god flying towards Dawnfall Peak, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Boom! His entire brain exploded as he screamed madly in his heart. How was this possible? As for the other members of the Jiang clan, they were shocked and stupefied. They were so shocked that they couldn't be any more shocked. Jiang Xiu is Jiang Luoxia? Jiang Luoxia, who destroyed the Jin family, took over the Jin group, crippled Jiang Hang, killed Jiang Ao and Jiang Zhan, and forced the Jiang family to the brink of collapse, was his abandoned grandson. And he was a famous demigod who ranked 11th on the divine roll in China. Exploding, completely exploding. What? How could a kid who was forced by his father to sell fruits on the side of the road grow up to be able to shake the Jiang family? Even Jiang Yi and Lin Yueling were stunned when they saw Jiang Xiu fly to the sky. They only knew that Jiang Xiu had a master and learned martial arts, but they didn't expect him to reach such a level, as if a god had descended to the world. Jiang Yi, my son. Lin Yueling covered her mouth and tears flowed down her cheeks uncontrollably. Minor repairs. Jiang Yi was also thrilled and his body trembled. Both of them were thrilled. Their son was so promising that it was beyond their imagination. He was so promising that he could shake the world. Whoosh! Between the mountain peaks, the figure was like a great rock soaring into the 9 heavens against the wind. He flew past the cliffs and valleys straight up the sunset peak, and suppressed the eastern foot of the mountain. Jiang Xiu stepped on this world. His jet black and dense hair fluttered like flames, his pitch-black eyes flashed with divine light. His facial features were deep and perfect as if they were carved out by a ghost. His skin was sparkling and translucent like white jade. His entire body revealed an evil handsomeness that was enough to make others lose themselves, and his figure seemed as if it was made from gold. There wasn't a single spot on his body that wasn't perfect, and it was as if an ancient god had descended. It was as if he should not exist in this world. Jiang Luoxia is here. He's coming. At this moment, Donglu Mountain exploded, shattering the rumors of Jiang Luoxia leaving the martial arts world due to fear. At the same time, the martial arts forum exploded on the spot. Countless people took photos of Jiang Luoxia's appearance and posted them on the forum. My heavens! Miao Xiaolin and Xiao Fangfang were stunned. This person can fly. Is he filming a movie? Cheng Lingsu's heart suddenly surged. She nervously clenched her small fists, and her breathing became rapid. Her expression was both excited and worried. You still came. Before this, she had always been in a dilemma. She hoped that Jiang Xiu would come, but she also hoped that Jiang Xiu wouldn't come. But in the end, he still came. Jiang Luoxia. Why does he look a little familiar? Song Ronghao said. Su, don't you think that this person looks a little like Jiang Xiu? Although Jiang Xiu was deified, his overall appearance was still Jiang Xiu. However, it was as if one person did not have special effects, while the other person had special effects. Descend from the heavens and cleanse the 9 mysteries, 1,000 years of hard work. At this moment, the old man lying on the rock finally stood up slowly. He had a head of silver hair. His silver hair was different from the old man's. It was thick and shone. His face was no different from a young man's. If it was not for his age that made people think that he was an old man, it would be hard to associate him with an old man. He was tall and sturdy, dressed in snow-white clothes and barefoot. It was Ji Wudao. His voice sounded as if it came from the horizon. His mouth did not move, but it was like thunder. Jiang Luoxia, you're finally here. I thought you were scared and ran away. Jiang Xiu said. Ran away. You're not qualified. As he spoke, he took a step forward. Boom, the rock under his feet cracked. The entire sunset peak seemed like it was going to collapse. The cracks extended towards Ji Wudao. Jiang Xiu had already flown over. Boom. With a loud sound, Ji Wudao moved in the air. The rock under his feet exploded, and countless small rocks shot towards Jiang Xiu. Jiang Luoxia, ranked 11th on the demigod ranking. Let me see what you're capable of. At the same time, he had already flown over. Around his body, smoke filled the air. His entire person became illusory. Jiang Xiu suddenly struck out with his fist. Bang! A loud bang resounded as strong winds swept out, causing the surrounding grass on Dawnfall Peak to be uprooted. His fist hadn't even arrived, yet the force of his punch had already arrived, causing all the rocks that were flying towards him to be transformed into powder. The strong wind stopped, and the dancing grass and rocks fell to the ground. Not bad, not bad. Ji Wudao smiled and flew towards Jiang Xiu. Behind him, white smoke filled the air. His entire person was as light as a feather. It was as if he was in a dream, and he arrived in an instant. As expected of a god. This was the mark of a god. His body could undergo some transmaterial changes as he wished. For example, he could turn his hands into rocks, or turn his body into smoke like he did. You can actually tell that I'm a god? Ji Wudao was shocked. Since you guessed that I might be a god, you actually dared to come. I admire your courage. Seeing that your talent is extraordinary, I can make an exception and spare your life. How about becoming my disciple? Jiang Xiu's expression was cold. How can a useless person like you be worthy of being Jiang Luoxia's master? A mere little god was not even worthy of carrying his master's shoes. Impudent. Ji Wudao's smile disappeared, and his gaze was cold. Since you don't know how to appreciate my kindness, I will kill you today to shock the world. When he finished speaking, the white smoke behind him seemed to condense into cloud wings. He directly flew over, joined his hands, and attacked fiercely. Rumble, rumble. A vast power surged out from his hands, accompanied by terrifying sound waves. The invisible power in the void was affected. It was really unbelievably powerful. This attack was enough to shatter a mountain peak. Break. Jiang Xiu could only use the spells and battle techniques that he had accumulated for 3,000 years to make up for the difference in power. His fingers changed into various strange hand seals, and he drew a line across the air. Light flashed on his fingers. Instead of retreating, he advanced. His whole body was pulled forward by the hand seals on his fingers. Suddenly, his finger drew a line across, and it was hard to describe. One could only see a ray of light remaining in his vision. A shadow divides the world. Like a knife cutting through a falling piece of paper, that surging power was instantly separated from the middle, and was cut into two halves. It rushed past Jiang Xiu from left and right. Whistling sounds filled the air around him. Ji Wudao revealed a look of surprise. He had already made his second move. He turned it into a heavy fist and attacked. In the dark night, only the shadow of the fist could be seen. It had already crossed the invisible void, and even the air seemed to be compressed and penetrated. At that moment, it felt like a bullet had shot into water. He was indeed an old monster who had lived for more than 500 years. The power of the move just now was too scattered, and Jiang Xiu broke it with a strange method. Therefore, he changed it into a heavy fist that condensed power. If Jiang Xiu used the move just now, he would definitely die on the spot. The power of a god had an overwhelming advantage over the power of a demigod. Not bad. Divine power is condensed, and you can change it freely. Jiang Xiu couldn't help but praise him secretly. Generally, new gods would have a problem. They could change their spells stiffly. When they made a move, the power would indeed be very strong. It was not a small matter to move the power of the void freely. It was also because the power was too strong that it would be difficult to change it again. This was the principle of the so-called elephant turning. Many people blindly pursued the power of their spells, and neglected the importance of changing their moves. However, Ji Wudao didn't make such a mistake under the circumstances where he had no one to guide him. His wisdom was indeed outstanding. Jiang Xiu's eyes flashed. He didn't even look at the shadow of the fist that penetrated the void. The back of his hand swung, 2 swings, 3 swings faster and faster. Every time he swung, he would use a surge of power. In an instant, hundreds and thousands of surges of power rushed out like 1,000 layers of waves. Boom, boom. The power was no match for the power of the fist. It was immediately broken through. However, after breaking through the first layer, there was still the second layer, the third layer, the fourth layer. Layer by layer, even the strongest power would be weakened step by step. Wonderful. If he wanted to defeat the strong as the weak, he wouldn't stand a chance. Seeing Jiang Xiu's endless tricks, Ji Wudao was extremely shocked. However, he still played it down. Is this a spell or a martial art? This qi could never become a wave. But Jiang Xiu's palm had indeed formed the power of a wave. Layer by layer, the waves behind beat the waves in front. Don't be surprised. Jiang Xiu smiled coldly. This was the so-called immortal martial art. If not for your higher cultivation level, this move would be enough to kill you. Chapter 218. Jiang Xiu wasn't joking. This move could even block the power of a god. A demigod would definitely be killed on the spot. However, Ji Wudao said coldly, a demigod is a demigod. You can't change this fact. So what if you're a demigod? The difference in power is something you can't make up for. As he spoke, Ji Wudao took a step forward. Take this move with my true power. He used his fingers as a sword. The bright white sword light expanded rapidly, reaching dozens of feet. It slashed towards Jiang Xiu. Jiang Xiu's expression changed. He immediately spat out a word. Condense. The air waves instantly formed layers of air. They were as tough as steel walls. However, in front of the sword light, they were like air. They were easily cut apart, turning into short broken air lines. My sword is a qi weapon. A qi weapon is an invisible force. It's indestructible and can break all spells. Jiang Xiu's air waves could block the strong force, but they couldn't block this indestructible qi weapon. Jiang Xiu's expression darkened. Qi weapon? This was clearly the embryonic form of a sword technique. This person walked the path of a sword cultivator. This qi weapon was unintentionally comprehended by chance after I cultivated for 300 years. It can defeat any sword of a martial cultivator. It can break 1,000 feet of iron. It's your fortune that you're fated to meet me today. You should be content to die under this move. In an instant, the sword qi enveloped down, drawing upon the power of the void. Immediately, the entire world emitted a whistling sound as the sword of qi descended from the sky. Not to mention Jiang Xiu, even the Dawnfall Peak was about to be split apart. Jiang Xiu's eyes flashed. Ji Wudao, is this your trump card? If he wasn't just a demigod and couldn't trigger the power of the void, he really wanted to show him what a real sword technique was. Whoosh! Jiang Xiu suddenly dodged, and the qi weapon almost brushed past his body. The power of the weapon made his half-deified skin feel like it was being pricked by needles. He dodged again, and his whole body was already charging forward. Ji Wudao's expression became serious. Jiang Xiu wasn't even 20 years old, and was only a demigod. He didn't expect him to be able to dodge his qi weapon. Moreover, this kid's moves were very strange. Again, I'll show you my power. Ji Wudao bent his fingers and flicked out more than 10 white streams of energy. The energy streams whistled in the night sky. They faintly formed into flying swords shooting towards Jiang Xiu. You've dodged it once, but can you do it a second or third time? Do you think that a demigod like you can defeat a god? Whoosh! The flying swords were as fast as a flash of light. It was too much for one to handle. His hands flicked out continuously. Every time he flicked, 4 or 5 flying swords would appear. In an instant, the flying swords chased after the night sky like a storm. The area around Jiang Xiu was already covered by flying swords. In an instant, Jiang Xiu was in a situation where death was certain. Shocking, this is too shocking. Since the moment Jiang Xiu appeared, the spectators were completely shocked. It was as if they'd transmigrated to a world of legends. There were gods that flew through the sky, sword immortals that controlled their swords to kill their enemies, and even Dawnfall Peak was filled with immortal aura. Is Ji Wudao's cultivation really only a demigod? Condensing energy into a weapon. That power can destroy heaven and earth. It feels like the power of the entire void is at his disposal. It feels like there's an inexhaustible supply of energy. A demigod frowned and expressed his feelings. Many people at the side agreed. To them, they had no idea what kind of existence a god was and what kind of power they had. However, they could vaguely feel the trajectory of some of the energy. As for the martial cultivators of a lower level, they were dazzled and fascinated. Is this a demigod? The heavens are like gods. In front of them, the terrifying power of nature seems to be controlled. Who will win? An old man in a green robe asked. Jiwu Dao. Jiwu Dao. Everyone's answer was the same. That was Jiwu Dao. Jiang Luoxia is indeed extraordinary. However, compared to Jiwu Dao, there's a huge gap in power. They're not on the same level at all. Jiwu Dao seems to be able to control heaven and earth with a single move. As for Jiang Luoxia, he can only rely on himself. Moreover, from the beginning, Jiang Xiu was suppressed by Jiwu Dao. Moreover, once the energy weapon was used, Jiang Xiu became extremely dangerous. As for ordinary people like Miao Xiaolin and Song Ronghao, their eyes were about to pop out. Is this still a human? Jiang Xiu flew in the air while Jiwu Dao seemed to be riding on the clouds. With a wave of his hand, he shot out a glowing energy, causing the rocks behind him to shatter. From the moment the two of them fought until now, the Sunset Peak had already been destroyed beyond recognition. The people at the foot of the mountain could feel the huge commotion when the rocks fell from the sky and hit the ground. It felt like a meteorite falling from the sky. It was truly shocking. Not to mention ordinary people like Miao Xiaolin, the nobles who witnessed this battle, and even the martial cultivator's worldview were turned upside down. As for Cheng Lingsu and Jiang Yi, besides being shocked, they were so nervous that their hearts were about to jump out. The one fighting was Jiang Xiu. If he was careless, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. Jiwu Dao, if it was an ordinary demigod, no, I'm afraid that even the gods here would be defeated by this move of yours. However, it's a pity that you met me. Jiang Xiu sighed inwardly. Jiwu Dao's energy weapon had already touched the threshold of a sword technique. The rarest thing was that he had figured out all this on his own in this barren land of cultivation. However, in the end, it was a pity that he had not truly formed a sword technique. After all, the energy weapon was just sharp energy and not sword intent. Break. Facing the flying swords that shot at him like a storm, Jiang Xiu uttered a profound incantation. At the same time, he stretched out a sword finger and drew a rune in the air to welcome the flying swords that filled the sky. As the golden light sand flowed, a rune suddenly burst forth with a strong power. All the flying swords seemed to have entered a strange vacuum space. Not only did the speed of the flying swords decrease, but they also seemed to have lost the support of their energy. Starting from the tail, they started to dissipate bit by bit. In the end, even the sword tip turned into nothingness. How is this possible? The energy weapon was actually suppressed by the rune. The rune could only suppress things that could be suppressed. The energy weapon was an item without any attributes. How could it be suppressed by the rune? It did not make sense. The energy weapon was omnipotent, yet it was also omnipotent. However, the eyes could not deceive people. The energy weapon was broken. At this moment, Jiwu Dao's expression changed drastically. While Jiwu Dao was in a daze, Jiang Xiu drew a line in the air with his bare hands and said, Jiwu Dao, have a taste of my energy weapon too. As soon as he finished speaking, he drew a line in the air and a white waterfall flashed out. This waterfall condensed into a sword ray that was more than 10 feet long. Rip. The sword ray slashed down from the sky. It felt as if it was going to cut the night sky apart. What? This time, Jiwu Dao could no longer remain calm. Jiang Xiu had actually used the exact same qi weapon as him. This qi weapon was something he had only comprehended after hundreds of years of cultivation. How did he know it? In his previous life, Jiang Xiu had cultivated the sword, and had almost reached the pinnacle of the Tao of the sword. Although he was neither a deity nor a god now, and could not unleash a true sword art, he could still draw a gourd and unleash a qi weapon with ease. Moreover, from form to spirit, he was stronger and more complete than Jiwu Dao. There's no reason. Jiwu Dao could not believe it. With a boom, the violent energy in his body turned into white smoke and rushed out. Jiang Luoxia, I've cultivated for hundreds of years. Do you think I'm joking with you? The energy weapon slashed fiercely on the white smoke that rushed out. Bang! The white smoke surged. The energy weapon could not move an inch further. It was forcefully blocked by the white smoke. Gradually, the energy weapon began to fade and finally disappeared without a trace. Sigh. Jiang Xiu sighed inwardly. The difference between the strength of a demigod and that of a god was too great. It was impossible to break through the defense of a god, no matter how good your immortal martial arts were. Ha ha ha. Jiang Luoxia, you're too naive. You're actually thinking of killing a god as a demigod? However, you've really surprised me. Ji Wudao shook his head and sighed. I didn't expect that such a talented junior like you would appear in this world. Moreover, you're not even 20 years old. If you weren't my enemy, I would really want to let you go. Unfortunately, you just have to go against me. If I let you go today, I'm afraid you'll be a disaster in the future. Jiang Luoxia died. As he spoke, a long sword that shone with a cold light appeared in Ji Wudao's hand. He finally used his sword. Chapter 219. From the moment Ji Wudao released his chi weapon, Jiang Xiu knew that Ji Wudao was a sword cultivator. His true trump card was the sword. Ji Wudao said, "This sword is called Haoxue. It's my sword and has killed countless demons. It's your great fortune to be able to see it today. I'll let you witness my true killing move." The spectators all gasped in surprise. Ji Wudao had made a name for himself many years, but the sword in his hand was what made him truly famous. Wherever the sword went, it would be invincible. He had fought hundreds of battles in his life, big and small, and had never been defeated by a single Qingfeng. Jiang Xiu guessed in his heart. Did he rely on his sword cultivation to survive 500 years before being recognized by the heavens and earth? Jiang Luoxia. Ji Wudao's eyes narrowed. He suddenly soared into the sky and turned into a thunderstorm. The entire world was filled with the sound of thunder. The rolling sound waves shook heaven and earth, causing rocks to roll down. What was even more shocking was that Ji Wudao's entire body exploded with a strong light, like a blazing sun. Flying over, a heaven-shaking sword strike. Rip. At this moment, the entire world was enveloped by the strong light. The sunset peak was as bright as day. The light was sword chi, and the sword chi was light. It covered the sky and earth, destroying everything. Heaven, man, and sword as one. Everyone who witnessed this scene was shocked to the extreme. This sword was really too strong. Even if they weren't in it, they could feel the unparalleled sword might. Jiang Luoxia was about to lose. Only two figures could be seen in the strong light. Ji Wudao slashed down from the sky, but Jiang Xiu didn't dodge. Not only that, he even closed his eyes. In reality, not only did he close his eyes, he also abandoned his five senses. His eyes, ears, mouth, and nose, all of his attention was focused on his divine essence. The saber pellet in Jiang Xiu's divine energy slowly unfurled and turned into a long thread. Then it disappeared into the divine energy in a flash. In the next moment, a strong light erupted from Jiang Xiu's glabella. As the strong light flashed, the thread slowly came out of his glabella. The light was like a silver flame that flickered endlessly. He didn't have a divine body, but he controlled the sword pellet. If he wasn't careful, he would be injured and die. Therefore, he abandoned his five senses and focused his mind. At this moment, the Haoxue sword slashed down from the sky. Boom! With a loud bang, the two strong lights collided with each other. For a moment, the light was like sparks that sputtered everywhere. The two forces collided, and one after another, violent chi waves were pushed out from the center of the collision between the two forces. Boom, boom, boom. The airflow, rocks, and trees in the surroundings were unable to endure such terrifying force and exploded apart. For a time, it seemed like the heavens and the earth were collapsing, and countless rocks rolled down the 30 kilometers tall cliff from Dawnset Peak. Ha! With a roar, Jiang Xiu's eyes suddenly opened. The strong light on his forehead exploded. With a swoosh, a flying knife flashed. No one saw where the flying knife came from, and no one knew how it was released. At the moment when the flying knife appeared, no one expected it to be able to withstand the strongest sword of a god. Ding! The flying knife collided with the sword blade. The sound was so pleasant to the ears. Uft! The force on the sword was transmitted, and the sword blade broke. Ji Wudao fell backward and spat out a mouthful of blood. He was a god, a real god. His body was extraordinary, and he was above the material world. He could withstand the attack of a bullet. However, a small flying knife collided with his sword blade. He flew backward and spat out blood. His eyes were fixed on the shining flying knife floating in front of Jiang Xiu's forehead. He was shocked, frightened, and confused. He was sure that Jiang Xiu was a demigod, but he could actually hurt him because of this small flying knife. After the flying knife hit him, it didn't slow down and continued to fly forward. At the same time, the flying knife's blade was expanding at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the next moment, it was 30 to 40 meters long. The fear in his eyes grew stronger, and he was so scared that his eyes almost popped out. He screamed, "No!" The knife was like thunder. Boom! The fierce knife light pierced through Ji Wudao's body. His frightened eyes gradually dimmed, and he lost his spirit. In the end he said, "Impossible, impossible." He didn't believe that a demigod could kill a god. Boom! Ji Wudao fell heavily to the ground. This peerless master who had never been defeated lost all his life under the flying knife. He fell to the ground and didn't move. Only his bulging eyes showed that he died with a grievance. Jiang Xiu said calmly, "This is a knife pellet, the foundation of a god's knife path. Only when it is refined with real godly power, and cultivated by myself in the demigod realm, can it be refined by a god. Of course it can kill a god. Die in peace." Ji Wudao's body slowly emitted fluorescent light. It was very beautiful in the night. After about 10 seconds, the whole body turned into nothingness. Donglu Mountain was dead silent. No one spoke. Everyone looked at the scene with their eyes and mouths wide open. Ji Wudao is dead. Ji Wudao is dead. All the martial cultivators present were extremely shocked. Their gazes were as if they were looking at a god as they looked at the perfect young man on the Sunset Mountain who was like a demon god. Jiang Luoxia won. Jiang Luoxia was the youngest demigod in the world. No one knew how strong he was. He had even killed Ji Wudao. Judging from the strength he had displayed, he might even be a god. Gods were legendary existences. With such cultivation and destructive power, what difference was there between him and a god? Descend from the 9 mysteries and cleanse the sky, 1,000 years of work. Even without a square inch, it is still outstanding. From now on, this sentence will shake the world. Everyone was worried. Before the battle, almost no one thought that Jiang Luoxia would win. But Jiang Luoxia used reality to slap them in the face. It hurt, it hurt. Was he afraid of the battle? Cheng Lingsu suddenly covered her mouth. Tears flowed out silently. He won, he killed Ji Wudao. She couldn't control herself and squatted down, crying loudly. Old immortal Ji is dead? Lord Jiang said in a trembling voice. After that, his legs went soft and he couldn't stand anymore. Jiang Xiu's words echoed in his mind. Jiang Yishan, you're finished. Your Jiang family is finished. Everyone in the Jiang family was dumbstruck, as if they had lost their parents. They knew very well what old immortal Ji's death meant to the Jiang family. They had lost their last pillar of support. He won. Lin Yueling was still in a daze. She couldn't believe it. He won. Jiang Yi was also in a daze. Jiang Xiu flew down Mount Luoxia. He flew in the air. Everywhere he passed, the martial cultivators saluted him. Greetings to Mr. Jiang of Jiangnan. Greetings to Mr. Jiang. Their voices echoed from Mount Donglu all the way to the foot of the mountain. The entire Mount Donglu was in an uproar. When he landed, a man with a resolute face walked up and blocked Jiang Xiu's path. He said coldly, "You dared to kill my master. I want to avenge him." Jiang Xiu glanced at him. "Who are you?" The man replied, "Demigod Zhu Dingsheng." This person was Ji Wudao's demigod disciple. In these 10 days, he had defeated several demigods consecutively, establishing Ji Wudao's unparalleled reputation, and also making Jiang Xiu's reputation as a coward. Jiang Xiu glanced at him. "So it's you." After he finished speaking, Jiang Xiu's hand suddenly chopped down. The man's face was shocked. Jiang Xiu's hand knife had not yet landed, but the fierce qi had already suppressed him to the point that he could not breathe. "Ah!" Zhu Dingsheng screamed in horror. Bang! Demigod Zhu Dingsheng's body seemed to have been crushed by tens of thousands of tons of pressure. His entire body exploded, and his flesh was mangled. Hiss! Everyone present gasped. Zhu Dingsheng, who had defeated more than half of Huaxia's demigods, had declared that he would seek revenge on Jiang Xiu. In the end, he couldn't even withstand a single blow. A bunch of useless people. Seeing how powerful Jiang Luoxia was, everyone present was shocked. They couldn't help but fear him. If this person were to rise, who could defeat him? Who could suppress him? Everyone thought of a name. It was the representative of Huaxia's demigods, Si Wuxia, who had survived the atomic bomb. However, Si Wuxia had disappeared for many years and hadn't appeared for 60 years. Jiang Xiu stomped his feet again and flew away. He easily flew a few hundred miles and disappeared in the direction of the Jiang family's courtyard, disappearing from everyone's sight. Seeing Jiang Xiu walking over, the Jiang family looked at him in horror. Chapter 220. Jiang Xiu's appearance began to degenerate at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the deified state slowly disappeared. First, his eyes returned to normal, then his long hair became shorter, and his facial features were not as prominent and perfect as before, revealing the appearance of Jiang Xiu. But this did not reduce the Jiang family's fear of Jiang Xiu at all. The more real Jiang Xiu was, the more frightened they were. Only then did they truly feel that Jiang Xiu was Jiang Luoxia. He walked up to Jiang Yishan and looked straight at him. At this time, Master Jiang was no longer as domineering and ruthless as before. He heard Jiang Xiu say, "Jiang Yishan, your biggest support has been killed by me. What other tricks do you have?" Master Jiang looked at Jiang Xiu, and his heart was surging like stormy waves. His fingernails pierced into his palms, but he didn't feel it at all. "This is your trump card? You hid it so well." He slowly closed his eyes and smiled bitterly. "Jiang Xiu, have you been planning to take revenge on my Jiang family?" Jiang Xiu said, "That's right. You caused my father to spend his best years in prison, and you caused my mother to waste her time. You caused my father to be in prison, and I was laughed at and bullied since I was a child. I'll take revenge for all these." His tone was so cold and determined that Master Jiang could no longer keep calm at this time. Jiang Xiu had the strength to overturn the Jiang family. Jiang Xiu's eyes were cold and murderous. "I, Jiang Luoxia, have said that I will never pay with my life for the life of those who go against me. I want your Jiang family to be destroyed, and I want the Jiang family to disappear from this world completely." "Ah!" The Jiang family cried out softly. Jiang Xiu's words made them tremble all over. It was as if the judgment of the end of the world had sentenced them to death. "Humph!" Master Jiang snorted coldly. "Aren't you a member of the Jiang family?" "Yes." The members of the Jiang family who were already in despair felt a glimmer of hope when they heard this. He was also a member of the Jiang family. After all, they were relatives. He wouldn't be so heartless. Jiang Xiu almost laughed. He couldn't help but shake his head. "Jiang Yishan, have you ever thought of us as your Jiang family? The way you treat my family is 10 times, 100 times more ruthless than the way you treat your enemies. You want me to have a conscience, just like how my parents want you to have a conscience. It's impossible." Old Master Jiang said, "Minor repairs. Just take it as Grandpa's fault. Please forgive Grandpa. I will use my power to make up for the grievances your family has suffered." "Ha ha ha." Jiang Xiu sneered. This man was so shameless that it made his hair stand on end. "Well, the compensation I want is very simple. The whole Jiang family has to be buried with my family for the painful days in the past. They have to be buried with my father-in-law who is lying in the hospital." He suddenly raised his hand. Bang! Jiang Hao, who was far away, let out a scream of terror. His entire body was sliced in half in the air, and fell into a pool of blood, causing everyone to cry out in terror. Ah! The Jiang family was really frightened this time. They were really going to kill him. Someone shouted, "Don't kill me, don't kill me. I have nothing to do with the Jiang family." It turned out to be Jiang Hao's wife. "I have nothing to do with the Jiang family either. This old bastard, I have long wanted to kill him." It was the husband of the youngest daughter of the Jiang family. He was the one who had been in the director's position for 10 years, because he said something wrong. "I'm going to cut the Jiang family in 2 halves. One of the grandchildren of the Jiang family said. Old Master Jiang roared crazily. "What are you doing? My Jiang family is not finished yet. You are a group of ingrates. My Jiang family has raised you for so many years. How dare you rebel against me? Old bastard, good and evil will be rewarded in the end. We have been bullied by you as if we were dogs. You beat and scolded us for no reason. I've had enough. You are an old monster who has no humanity. People say that even a vicious tiger will not eat its cubs. You even want to hurt your own son. You are really worse than a beast. These people were in awe of Jiang Yishan's power. There was no family affection at all in this family. There was only interest. When the interest was strangled, the accumulated resentment in the past would collectively erupt. Power, wealth, and vanity blinded their eyes. Jiang Yi and his wife didn't say a word. Jiang Yishan, what else do you have to say? Old Master Jiang's eyes were lifeless like a walking corpse. He raised his head and looked at Jiang Xiao. Countless emotions flashed through his eyes. There was anger, doubt, confusion, and, in the end, they all turned into deep regret. He couldn't speak anymore. He knew that the Jiang family was finished, completely finished. Jiang Xiao strode away. Deadmum, let's go. When they walked out, the gate of the courtyard was closed. Let us out. Let us out. On the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival, the moon hung high in the sky. The bright moon was covered with a faint layer of blood. When the gate of the rich Jiang family was closed, it announced the end of this family. Just like that night when Lin Yuelin and the 5-year-old Jiang Xiao knelt in front of the cold gate. The gate was tightly closed and would never be opened. The gate here would be closed forever. Jiang Xiao, Jiang Yi, and his wife walked down the mountain path. The people on Donglu Mountain also walked down. There was no other way. The mountain path along the way was smashed by the huge rocks that fell from the sunset peak during the Battle of the Demigods. Some fell on the road and blocked it, making it impossible for vehicles to pass. Lin Yueling was truly astonished when she saw a 1 to 2 meter tall rock. This was caused by her son's fight with someone. She was extremely excited. Her son had grown up and even possessed such an unimaginable ability. Dad, Mom, let's go celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival together. And Hanlin's family too. Let's go to the hospital. Jiang Xiao said, Dad, you don't blame Uncle Qing anymore? Jiang Yi shook his head. To be honest, he was also a victim of what happened back then. He was forced to betray me. He must feel terrible. Now Lin Yueling said, actually he was implicated by our family. We should be the ones who let him down. Jiang Xiao nodded. If Cheng Hanlin was not Jiang Yi's brother, the Jiang family would not have looked for him. Jiang Yi said, minor repairs. Your Uncle Cheng worked hard to build the program group. Now that everything is over, you should return the program to your Uncle Cheng. Although some unpleasant things happened in the past life, but as Jiang Xiao said, human nature could not withstand the test. Moreover, Cheng Hanlin was lying on the hospital bed now. Let everything be over. Okay. Back at the hospital, it was noisy inside. Cheng Hanlin was screaming in pain. The doctor was giving him a painkiller. Sun Xiaohong and Cheng Lingran were anxious and had tears in their eyes. Hanlin. Jiang Yi came to Cheng Hanlin with concern. Brother Yi. This was the first time Jiang Yi called his name after more than 10 years. Cheng Hanlin replied in pain. This time, all the grievances of the past faded away. It was as if they had returned to more than 10 years ago. Bear with it. After the surgery, the wound would be very painful. Especially in the first 2 nights, some people would faint from the pain. Minor repairs has helped you take revenge. The Jiang family has been overturned. Everything is in the past. I know that you were forced to do it in the past. Let's let it go. What do you think? Cheng Hanlin's eyes were filled with tears. He did not know if it was because of the pain or because of Jiang Yi's words. He nodded vigorously. One more thing. Minor repairs said that they will return the Cheng clan to you. You should get better quickly. The Cheng clan is still waiting for you to take care of it. Cheng Hanlin's eyes lit up. Really? Of course it's true. That's the world you fought for. The misunderstanding has been cleared. Of course it will be returned to you. We will be like before. I will be an official and you will be a businessman. Okay. Sun Xiaohong covered her mouth and cried. Finally, she could be a rich man's wife again. The atmosphere in the ward became very harmonious. It was as if everything had cleared up after the storm. Only one person was confused. That was Cheng Lingran, Jiang Xiu's wife in his previous life. She was a little confused. She pulled Jiang Xiu and motioned for him to come out. Sister, why did you call me? Jiang Xiu looked at Cheng Lingran. He felt a little sad. However, Cheng Lingran looked so haggard in just one day. Cheng Hanlin's incident had a big impact on her. What's going on? What revenge? What Qing clan? Jiang Xiu said. Hey, didn't your program go bankrupt? It was maliciously acquired by someone. My dad and I took it back. It's now under my name. Tomorrow, I will transfer it back to your dad. It's that simple. Cheng Lingran looked doubtful. It's that simple. Chapter 221. Cheng Lingran stared at Jiang Xiu suspiciously. This guy showed a very sincere smile, and his eyes were so calm that it made people's hair stand on end. Even he himself almost believed it. Cheng Lingran, who was so beautiful that no one could find a trace of flaw, was actually just asking casually. Now she was actually very tired, and didn't want to waste her brain thinking about these things at all. It had been almost 40 hours since yesterday. Not only was she frightened, but she also didn't sleep at all. She couldn't help but cover her mouth with her hand and doze off. Jiang Xiu said, You haven't slept yet, right? Cheng Lingran nodded and said, It's okay. I'm young and can bear it. I'm a little worried about my mother. She's the same as me. She hasn't slept for a while. Jiang Xiu said, You can't be like this. You wait here. I'll go get some food back. After eating, quickly go to sleep. Your father's condition can't be cured in a short time. If you don't have a good body, how can you take care of him? Cheng Lingran curled up in the hospital chair. Don't go too far. Just buy some instant noodles from the hospital snack shop. Jiang Xiu obediently ran to the snack shop and made a cup of noodles. When he came back, he found Cheng Lingsu lying in the hospital chair asleep. She was a girl who loved cleanliness. Places like the hospital were dirty and full of bacteria. If she wasn't so tired, she wouldn't fall asleep. It would definitely be uncomfortable to sleep like this. Jiang Xiu sat beside her and wanted her to rest on his lap. Unexpectedly, Cheng Lingran woke up alertly and smelled the fragrance of instant noodles. I'm starving. She sat up and reached out to eat. You'll get pimples if you eat instant noodles. Cheng Lingran didn't care. After eating a few mouthfuls, she said, You jinx. If I really get pimples, I'll fight with you. Fine. Cheng Lingran had an inner core hanging around her neck. Its detoxification ability was very strong. Cheng Lingran's skin was getting more and more moist, and she was getting more and more beautiful. No matter how much instant noodles she ate, she definitely wouldn't get pimples. Jiang Xiu just reminded her that it was useless to eat too much of this kind of thing. Give me 2 mouthfuls too. Jiang Xiu had fought a fierce battle with Ji Wudao today. If he hadn't taken the risk to condense a knife pill, he might have really died at Ji Wudao's hands. This battle could be said to have consumed his energy. Do you have a conscience? You want to snatch a bowl of instant noodles? Why don't you go and buy another one? Cheng Lingran said stingily. She was really starving and didn't have enough to eat. Jiang Xiu said speechlessly, Sister, it seems like I'm the one who paid for this cup of noodles. That seemed to be the case. Cheng Lingran only then realized that she was the one who believed in hegemony. She reluctantly used her fork to feed him a mouthful of instant noodles. It was only a small mouthful. Jiang Xiu didn't dare to dislike it anymore. When a person was hungry, the fragrance of instant noodles was really amazing. A beautiful figure appeared in the corridor. She was carrying a belt with bags of various sizes in her hands. From the outside, it looked like a takeout box. She happened to see this scene. A strange look flashed across her beautiful eyes, and her gaze was a little sad. Cheng Lingran saw her from the corner of her eyes. Like a thief who got caught, she ran away in fright. Su. Cheng Lingsu stepped forward and came over. Why are you eating instant noodles? I bought fish, meat, and rice. Hurry up and eat. Cheng Lingran's pretty face was a little red. Minor repairs. Aren't you hungry? Hurry up and eat. She reached out to take the takeout bag in her sister's hand, and took out the takeout boxes one by one. Cheng Lingsu took a deep look at Jiang Xiao. His face was still as indifferent as ever. She thought that after tonight, the relationship between them should have changed, but it seemed that there was no change. He was still the same to her. Cheng Lingsu realized that she had made a mistake. From the beginning, Jiang Xiao's attitude towards her might have nothing to do with the grievances of the elders. It might be caused by her treating him as a stranger in the 3 years of high school. "Dad, how is it?" Cheng Lingran said. "I just had a painkiller injection. It's a little better now. Go in and have a look. Take these to Mom. Oh, by the way, Uncle Jiang and Auntie Lin should be hungry too. Take 2 more servings in." Cheng Lingsu said, "Oh, and took the things in. Uncle, Auntie, you're here. Have some supper." Lin Yueling laughed and said, "What's wrong with you? You don't like your mother-in-law's lipstick and bag enough? You don't want to call Mom and Dad?" Cheng Lingsu's face turned red. "Mom, Dad." The joy of the reconciliation of the 2 families gradually diluted the haze of Cheng Hanlin's serious illness in bed. Cheng Hanlin's face was full of smiles. In his opinion, it was really worth it to be hit by a car once to make the 2 families reconcile. "It smells so good. I want to eat it too," Cheng Hanlin said with a smile. Jiang Yi said, "Don't be greedy. By the way, do you have wine?" Cheng Hanlin complained. "Brother Yi, you don't have to torture me like this." Jiang Yi said, "Today is the Mid-Autumn Festival. It's rare for our 2 families to be so united. Of course we have to drink." "Su, asked the stinky boy outside to buy 2 bottles of wine." "Okay." Cheng Lingsu walked out of the ward and saw her sister and Jiang Xiao eating. Jiang Xiao was such a big man. Was it appropriate to ask him to buy wine? Obviously it was not appropriate. He planned to buy it himself. But Cheng Lingsu thought, no matter how good he was not Uncle Jiang's son. It was natural for a son to buy wine for his father. Why should I spoil him? You ignored me. You even have a temper. Jiang Xiao, Dad asked you to buy wine. Jiang Xiao could not believe his ears. What was this woman saying? Asking him to buy wine? How could he do this kind of thing himself? Cheng Lingsu was a little scared when he glanced at her. If looks could kill. Cheng Lingsu felt that Jiang Xiao's sword had pierced through her heart. Cheng Lingsu was scared. "I'll go." She did not know why she was so disappointing. Cheng Lingran said, "Su, wait. It's not convenient for a girl like you to go in and out of the house at night. Minor repairs. You go with me." She also glared at Jiang Xiao. "How can you be so stupid?" Jiang Xiao was very reluctant, but he had to stand up obediently. The 2 of them walked outside. The small store did not have the wine that Jiang Yi wanted to drink. They had to go to the supermarket outside to buy it. Jiang Xiao did not say a word along the way. He had a headache when he remembered that Cheng Lingsu was his wife. Now that the 2 families had reconciled, they would not let him be separated from Cheng Lingsu. As for his wife in his previous life, Cheng Lingran, he knew that Cheng Lingran would be farther and farther away from him when she saw Cheng Lingsu's nervous expression when she saw Cheng Lingran feeding him. Cheng Lingsu said, "I forgot to congratulate you. You won." Jiang Xiao said, "Useless people. It's not worth celebrating." His tone was very calm, but Cheng Lingsu saw the shock of the battle and felt that Jiang Xiao was arrogant. She could not help but think that there was no limit to his arrogance. Jiang Xiao asked her, "What do you plan to do in the future?" Cheng Lingsu said, "Plans? Nothing special. I just want to take good care of my father and study well." There was a supermarket opposite the hospital. "Did you forget what I told you? After this matter is resolved, we will divorce." The dim street light shone on Cheng Lingsu's face. He could not see her face clearly, but he could feel her eyelashes fluttering gently. She said, "Okay, do as you see fit." Cheng Lingsu felt that she did not like him at all. If they divorced, then so be it. However, she could not control her tears. "How about tomorrow at noon?" "Okay." She walked quickly into the supermarket, tears falling silently. She was very surprised why she was crying. She thought that she must have felt wronged because she was passive from the beginning to the end. The Jiang family got married just like that. Now all her classmates knew that she was married. If she divorced, then it would be a second marriage. After buying the wine, Cheng Lingsu returned to the ward. "Uncle Jiang, Dad, your wine. It was very difficult to call him Dad, almost using all her strength. Jiang Yi took it in his hand and looked at it. Not bad. As soon as the wine was opened, the ward was full of the fragrance of wine. Cheng Hanlin on the bed said, "It's terrible." Ha ha ha, Jiang Yi laughed. By the way, Yueling, you two mothers should quickly take care of it. The marriage certificate has been obtained and the young couple's marriage is arranged. Otherwise, Hanlin will think that I mistreated his daughter. Lin Yueling said with a smile. Yes, yes. By the way, Su, where is your marriage certificate? Cheng Lingsu was stunned. It's in the bag. Give it to me. Cheng Lingsu looked at Jiang Xiu, only to see the corners of the latter's mouth twitch unnaturally. Was she going to give it to him or not? Mr. Jiang. Chapter 222. Cheng Lingsu gritted her teeth and thought to herself. Why do I have to listen to you? Why do you have to control my fate? Our second Miss Cheng also has a temper. She ignored Jiang Xiu's face, which was beginning to turn blue. She took out the marriage certificate from her bag. As soon as she took it out, it was taken away by Lin Yueling. Cheng Lingsu noticed that Jiang Xiu's face was completely blue. The little girl deliberately put on a very innocent expression. Her helpless eyes seemed to tell Jiang Xiu that it was his mother who wanted to take away the marriage certificate. There was nothing she could do. However, it seemed that they didn't have to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow at noon. Divorce required marriage certificates. Sun Xiaohong and Cheng Lingsu hadn't seen their marriage certificate yet, so they gathered together to look at it. Lin Yueling said on the side, "Minor repairs. This photo is super ugly." Of course, she looked as if she had nothing to live for. Jiang Yi said, "Well, you don't have to stay here. You take your family home for minor repairs. I'll stay to take care of Hanlin. We haven't been together for more than 10 years. Let's talk." Sun Xiaohong and Cheng Lingran had been tired for a long time. Hearing this, they didn't say much. The family left the ward, stopped a taxi, and returned home in the capital. Cheng Lingsu still had clothes to change into. She took a set for her sister. The two sisters had similar figures. Cheng Lingran was slightly more voluptuous than Cheng Lingsu. After washing up, everyone went to bed. Jiang Xiu and Cheng Lingsu naturally stayed in the same room. Cheng Lingsu wiped her wet hair and said, "Today I'm still sleeping in the bed?" These words sounded a little boastful. According to the current progress, the two estimated that they would have to maintain a husband and wife relationship for a while. As she spoke, Cheng Lingsu had already crawled into bed. Jiang Xiu didn't say a word. In his heart he thought, when did Cheng Lingsu become so obedient? Where's your drive to force people to break off the engagement? He guessed that Cheng Lingsu most likely took out the marriage certificate on purpose. Wang Xintong's house was opposite the window. Looking out from the window, he could see a woman standing by the window opposite, shaking a glass of red wine in her hand. She slightly raised her glass to Jiang Xiu, probably to congratulate him on his victory today. After drinking it, she picked up the phone and called Jiang Xiu. Jiang Xiu looked at Cheng Lingsu on the bed and picked up the call. Wang Xintong's voice came from the other end. She sounded a little excited. "Today my dad and I went to see it. This battle was to determine their life and death. It's very shocking. Everyone outside is guessing your cultivation level. The demigod ranking changed overnight. It rose 8 places and rose to 3rd place. You're the #1 demigod in China. As your representative, my phone is about to explode with calls tonight. Many Chinese martial arts families want to meet you, and many influential people want their children to acknowledge you as their master." Jiang Xiu said. "Get to the point." Wang Xintong said, "The Jiang family is finished. It's really unexpected that a giant like the Jiang family would be defeated by you." Overnight, their businesses in Jiangnan and the capital all recovered. In addition, a large number of rich and powerful people left a huge gap in the market in Jiangnan. Gushu just received orders from the Diaoyu platform. "We can enter and consolidate, but we must be quick. I have to rush back tomorrow." All of this was because Jiang Xiu had won the demigod battle. If Jiang Xiu had lost, not only would the Jiang family be fine, But the market in Jiangnan might even fall into the hands of the Jiang family. Winner takes all. This was the case since ancient times. I can't accompany you anymore. Wang Xintong's voice was full of disappointment. She would be very busy in the coming days. Jiang Xiu said, "Get to the point." Wang Xintong was unyielding. In her opinion, this was the point. It was always the same. She wanted to get closer, but he would mercilessly push her away. She could only say, "How do you plan to deal with the Ji family?" Jiang Xiu said, "I'll go to the Ji family personally." Okay. After hanging up, Jiang Xiu fell into deep thought. Ji Wudao was undoubtedly a god. The secret of how he became a god could only be solved by going to the Ji family. There was even a possibility that Ji Wudao would bring him to his coffin. However, Jiang Xiu had no choice but to kill him. A demigod riding a flying knife was like an old cow pulling a cart. It was very taxing. That knife had almost exhausted all of his divine power. If he had left Ji Wudao alive, he might not have been able to get the secret of becoming a god out of him. He might not even have been able to use the knife a second time. For safety reasons, he still killed Ji Wudao. Besides, he was also very confident. If Ji Wudao could do it, he was sure that he could do it too. He believed that he would definitely be able to find the way to become a god. When he turned around, he saw Cheng Lingsu staring at him with a pair of bright eyes in the dark night. After being discovered, she quickly turned around. Jiang Xiu said exasperatedly, "I didn't know that you have a habit of eavesdropping on people's conversations." Cheng Lingsu ignored him. She thought to herself, "This room is only so big. You're talking on the phone in the room. It's so noisy that I can't sleep. I'm not going to scold you anymore, but you're still blaming me for eavesdropping?" Jiang Xiu got up and took a change of clothes into the bathroom. The night was silent. The next morning, Sun Xiaohong woke up. She was used to being lazy, but this bankruptcy made her diligent. She also understood the value of her work. Early in the morning, she bought breakfast and even packed a box. She planned to switch shifts with Jiang Yi later. Jiang Yi was now the Annenshu. He couldn't stay in the capital for too long. At most, he would stay for another day before he could go back with Lin Yueling. At that time, her two daughters would have to go to school. She would still have to take care of things herself. So early. Yes, sister-in-law, you're also very early. Sun Xiaohong noticed that Lin Yueling didn't look very good. So she asked, "Sister-in-law, didn't you rest well yesterday? Why don't you go upstairs and take a nap? I'll take care of things here." Lin Yueling came back last night. She tossed and turned but couldn't fall asleep. It wasn't because she couldn't sleep, but because she had something on her mind. She really didn't know what to do. She knew that Jiang Xiu had sex with Nan Gongko. Or because he was poisoned. She and Jiang Yi knew about it. Of course, they wouldn't talk about it. But the problem was that there was another victim, Nan Gongko. Good morning. Cheng Lingsu also got up and came downstairs. Young people were different. After a nap, they were in high spirits. Lin Yueling smiled at her. "You're up. Come and have breakfast." Looking at Cheng Lingsu, Lin Yueling's heart was covered with a layer of worry. She didn't know how Cheng Lingsu would react after learning about what had happened. If she was magnanimous, it would be fine, but if she would have a headache. Ran, are you still not up yet? Ran. Before long, Cheng Lingran also came downstairs. The whole family gathered together to have breakfast. Sun Xiaohong said, "I'll take care of your father. You two can go to school without worries. Come back after class. If you're too busy, I'll call the doctor." Her two daughters nodded obediently. "Susu, where's that brat?" This morning, Cheng Lingsu found that Jiang Xiu had fallen asleep next to her. It was probably because the sofa was too uncomfortable for him to sleep, so he couldn't help but climb onto the bed. He must have exhausted a lot of energy during the fight last night. Let him sleep for a while longer. As they spoke, Jiang Xiu also came down from upstairs. As usual, he had a cold face and did not sit beside Cheng Lingsu. Instead, he sat beside Cheng Lingran and said, "Sis, what time is your class today?" Cheng Lingran said, 7:30. "I have to hurry up, or I'll be late. I can't skip this class." Jiang Xiu said, "Let's go together." Back then, Lin Yueling forced Jiang Xiu to return to Jiangnan to study in university, because she was worried that the Jiang family would destroy Jiang Xiu. Now, not only was Jiang Xiu not destroyed, but the Jiang family had been moved down. Of course, there was no need to change schools. Why are you in such a hurry? Let Ran Ran go first. Didn't you stop half of your archaeology department's classes? Lin Yueling said. Cheng Lingran saw that there was no time, so she took a steamed bun and walked out. Su Su stood up and said, "Sis, I'll go with you." She also took a steamed bun and followed. Not long after, Sun Xiaohong also packed up and went to the hospital, leaving Jiang Xiu and his mother behind. "Mom, isn't everything solved? Why do you want me to stay?" Lin Yueling said. "Everything is solved? You have the nerve to say that you don't know what you did? The Jiang family's problem is solved, but how are we going to deal with the Nangong family? We're the ones in the wrong." Jiang Xiu finally understood that his mother was worried about Nangong Ko. At that time, Mom, I was innocent. Lin Yueling said. "I don't care if you're innocent. You have to take care of this for me. Don't let Su Su know." "Okay, can I go to school now?" "Go." Chapter 223. Jiang Xiu thought that this was indeed a big problem. After he got into the car, he wanted to call Nangong Ko, or to see her attitude towards this matter. Just as Lin Yueling had said, the Nangong family cared a lot about their reputation. Moreover, the Jiang family didn't want anyone to know about this matter. As long as Nangong Ko, or didn't tell anyone about it, no one would know about it. Moreover, it was very unlikely that Nangong Ko, or would tell anyone about this matter. He found her old phone number and called her. However, she didn't answer it. He didn't know if it was because it was too early, or if he remembered the wrong number. He thought that it was fine if he couldn't find her number. However, when the car arrived at the university, Jiang Xiu received a text message from Nangong Ko-er's number. "Everything between us will be a secret forever." Jiang Xiu's eyebrows twitched. Nangong Ko-er was very calm. Even though they had done the most intimate thing, and she was still a virgin, she didn't lose herself in it. Instead, she made the right choice in Jiang Xiu's eyes. He deleted this number from his phone. Let everything go with the wind. When they arrived at the university, Jiang Xiu went to the big classroom for class. He had a new professor. He was talking on the top, while the students were taking notes on the bottom. Because of the serious archaeology incident, the university forbade any archaeology activities this semester. This was a heavy blow to the freshmen's enthusiasm for learning. Some of them protested, but the university was very firm on this matter. Zhou Jin, Zhang Yiwei and the other students were playing games under the table with their phones. They didn't listen to what the professor was saying at all. However, Zheng Luan chatted with Jiang Xiu casually. A student in the row in front of Jiang Xiu was browsing through his notebook. He was looking at some pictures of ancient ruins. This student must be really interested in archaeology. Suddenly, Jiang Xiu patted his shoulder and said, "Student, turn to the previous picture." The man was shocked by Jiang Xiu and cursed. "Damn, you scared me to death." However, he still flipped to the previous page for Jiang Xiu. There was a cobblestone with a talisman drawn on it. Its shape was exactly the same as the longevity stone talisman. Jiang Xiu said, "Classmate, where are the things on this?" That person said, "This is a forum. Someone from Europe put it up. It's been a while. Can I have a look?" The student handed the notebook to Jiang Xiu. Jiang Xiu took the notebook and looked at the stone carefully. Without a doubt, it was one of the 6 longevity stone talismans. The 2 longevity stone talismans in his hand had already been refined into knife pellets. If he wanted to strengthen the knife pellet, he would have to constantly refine special materials. In other words, this longevity stone talisman could increase his strength considerably. Europe, ancient castle auction? This kind of thing was mostly put up by auction houses. This was also a common method. They would package it to hype it up. For example, if an antique was sold at a high price of hundreds of millions, a large part of it would be hyped up. Jiang Xiu looked at the transaction price. It was 75 million euros, equivalent to hundreds of millions of yuan. It was the sales champion of the quarter. Based on this price, the person who bought this stone should be someone who knew about it. How did this thing go abroad? Zhang Luan asked. Did this originally belong to our country? Jiang Xiu pondered. This thing belonged to the Western region. The Western region was not considered China, but it was related to China. After all, it was a country close to China. If something from the Western region was to be lost, it would be more reasonable for it to go to China. However, China had been humiliated for 100 years. Many antiques were lost abroad. You can't say that. However, this thing should not be in the hands of Europeans. After class, Jiang Xiu took out his phone and called Wang Xintong. Did you receive my photo? Wang Xintong received it. It's an antique worth hundreds of millions. Jiang Xiu said, send someone to Europe immediately to contact the owner of this thing. No matter how much it costs, buy it for me. A problem that could be solved with money was not a problem. Wang Xintong said, okay, I'll send someone to do it immediately. The item was sold at a big auction. Although a large number of buyers would ask the auction house to keep their identity a secret to avoid trouble, it was not difficult to spend some money to investigate. The question now was whether the owner was willing to sell it or not. If the owner discovered the secret of the stone, or if the stone had caused changes in his body, then the possibility of that person selling it was very low, no matter how much money was offered. Would someone who could spend hundreds of millions be short of money? Get my visa done too. Understood. If the people sent couldn't get it done, Jiang Xiu would definitely make a trip himself. Not to mention the mystery of the stone, just the fact that it could improve Jiang Xiu's cultivation was something he would not let go of. Jiang Xiu, what are you doing? Hurry up. Zhang Luan urged Jiang Xiu, who was making the call. Coming, Zhou Jin said anxiously. It'll be too late if you're any slower. What? Zhang Luan laughed and said, what else? Of course it's to see the goddess. This time it's a real goddess, a senior in the 3rd year, recognized as the number 2 in the capital. Although there were 2 beauties at home in front of him, and his immunity was stronger than ordinary animals, in this campus full of youthfulness, romance, and hormones, the campus belle would always be the most explosive and attractive topic. Compared to her, Qiu Yinru from our department is a little less interesting. Qiu Yinru is the department belle, but she's the campus belle. 2 levels. Jiang Xiu followed the animals to the grass beside the cafeteria and squatted down. According to Zhang Luan's experienced introduction, today the campus belle is having a big class. After class, she'll definitely take this path to the cafeteria. Just to see her? Jiang Xiu was a little speechless. Zhou Jin said sourly, we looked back 500 times in our past lives in exchange for passing each other by in this life. Brother, this is such a great fate. You must grasp it later. Zhang Yiwei pretended to be deep in thought and said very cooperatively, then, how many glances do I have to make before I can truly live in your heart? The big classroom in the distance became noisy. The seniors in the 3rd year came out. In the afternoon after the Mid-Autumn Festival, the sun was warm and brought with it a cool autumn breeze. The female students were holding books and wearing elegant long dresses, full of a scholarly atmosphere. Their laughter made the whole campus move. They're out. So beautiful. The animals beside Jiang Xiu were stunned. Jiang Xiu looked over curiously. The girl was about 1.7 meters tall. She was wearing a white one-piece dress with a belt of the same color around her waist. Her figure was particularly tall, like a flawless white lily floating in the crowd. She was so elegant and refined. Her demure beauty was like a trickle that seeped into the young man's eyes and into the young man's heart. Are you dumbfounded? The girl was faintly discernible in the crowd. It was hard to see her clearly. Zhang Luan on the side ridiculed. You usually act so cool, but when you see a beauty, you still become a pig. But this beauty, don't even think about it. Her level is too high. She's not someone we can reach. Jiang Xiu looked at the girl, a trace of pain flashing in his eyes. You are so close yet so far. In this life, even if I have the whole world, I won't be happy without you. Enough, hurry up and wake up. Jiang Xiu saw a hand waving in front of his eyes, blocking his view. He turned around and saw Zhang Luan. Zhou Jin and Zhang Yiwei on the side looked at him with disdain. You just said that she's the number 2 of the Imperial College? Then who's number 1? This girl was none other than Cheng Lingran. Jiang Xiu didn't believe that there was a woman more beautiful than Cheng Lingran in this world. Of course, this kind of question had a personal preference. In Jiang Xiu's eyes, Cheng Lingran was the most beautiful. The number 1 is Long Xuqing. I don't think she's more beautiful, but you have to know that her surname is Long. I heard that she has a very powerful background. Is she choosing the campus belle? Fair, rich, and beautiful is the standard. Other than appearance, family matters are also very important. Zhang Luan on the side explained. Jiang Xiu said, doesn't she have anyone chasing after her in school? Zhang Luan said, are you kidding? No one is chasing after the campus belle. There are many people chasing after her. Until now, I haven't heard of anyone close to Cheng Lingran. However, recently, I heard that a young master has been keeping a close eye on her. Chapter 224. It was normal for a beauty to be targeted, and there would be more than one pursuer. That day when he was in the car with Cheng Lingsu, he saw several boys pestering her. Cheng Lingran knew how to deal with them, and she had the inner core, so she would not be in danger. Therefore, Jiang Xiu did not need to worry about that. Come on, bro. Give me some encouragement. I'm going to exchange the 500 times I looked at her in my previous life for a chance to pass by her in this life. When Jiang Xiu got up and was about to walk over, the other horny students had already stood up. Their expressions were as cold as Xiao Zhao's. The funniest thing was that the 3 horny students were scrambling to be the first to pass by her in this life. However, they were soon dumbfounded. Cheng Lingran, who was walking out with books in her arms, was surrounded by girls on both sides. Therefore, how could the horny students pass by her? They could only stare blankly at Cheng Lingsu walking away with her classmates. However, it was the first time for them to see their goddess at such a close distance. To be honest, they had never been so close to such a beautiful goddess. They were deeply attracted to her until Cheng Lingran walked away. But then, they all widened their eyes. Damn, what is that guy doing? They saw Jiang Xiu directly walking towards Cheng Lingran. My god, he's going to do it directly. Awesome. The horny students did not expect Jiang Xiu to be so fierce. Hey, why are you here? Cheng Lingran looked up and saw Jiang Xiu. Jiang Xiu had been in the capital university for more than a month, and this was the first time they had met on campus. A warm smile appeared on his face. I'm here to see the campus belle. Are you looking for a beating? Cheng Lingran actually did not like the title of campus belle, not to mention that it was the second most beautiful campus belle. She rolled her eyes at him and said, you came at the right time. Do you see? 1, 2, 3, go get 3 meals. Jiang Xiu was depressed. It turned out that he had to be used as a coolie by you. The 3 horny students, who had already passed by, were stunned. Brother Xiu, you're awesome. You chatted with the campus belle, and the campus belle even smiled at you. What kind of relationship do you have with the campus belle? You actually hit it so deeply. Ran, who is he? The 2 female students on the side asked curiously. He's Jiang Xiu, a freshman from the archaeology department. Cheng Lingran knew what kind of people her female companion was. She was a top student of the capital university and an elite of a big family. They were very repulsed by outsiders. Unless you were on the same level as them, you would be ostracized. Therefore, Cheng Lingran did not say much. Today, the task of getting food from the cafeteria will be handed over to him. Although they were both schoolmates, the 2 sisters had completely different attitudes toward Jiang Xiu. Cheng Lingsu wanted Jiang Xiu to pretend that he did not know her for 3 years, while Cheng Lingran was worried that Jiang Xiu would not be liked by others, so she wanted to protect him. It was not hard to imagine that in his previous life, Cheng Lingsu abandoned him without hesitation, while Cheng Lingran sacrificed herself to compensate Jiang Xiu. Okay. The 2 female students on the side looked at Jiang Xiu from head to toe. His appearance was not bad, but there was nothing special about him. The so-called special thing was that his clothes were very ordinary. He was not a rich young master, but he was able to attract the attention of the campus belle. This is Fang Yi, and this is Bai Fei. Fang Yi was tall and slightly tanned, while Bai Fei had a round face and fair skin. Then I'll have to trouble you today. Jiang Xiu waved his hand. It was just a meal, so he took the lead and walked to the cafeteria. There would be a lot of people lining up during mealtime, and the animals behind him had already caught up. Damn, Jiang Xiu, you know the goddess? Do you want to eat together? What's your relationship? Each person asked one question, and Jiang Xiu almost drowned. If you want to know, line up and get 3 more servings of food. Okay. The group of people went to the cafeteria. Zhou Jin thought that if he could not get the goddess, it would be fine as long as he could get out of singlehood. There were 2 other girls beside the goddess, so he did not want to be picky. Hence, he said to Jiang Xiu very seriously, I don't reject a relationship with a younger man. Zhang Yiwei echoed, I don't reject it either. They were hungry and thirsty, okay? Zheng Luan immediately poured cold water on their heads. Don't think about it. Cheng Lingran studied finance, and the 2 girls with her have very strong backgrounds. Birds of a feather flock together, and they are not people we can associate with. You should be satisfied if you can get a meal for them once. Cheng Lingran and her best friend had already sat down at their table. When they saw Jiang Xiu coming back with food, she raised her slender jade hand high. Minor repairs here. The few animals sitting at the table next to them only dared to look from afar, and did not dare to get close. They looked at Jiang Xiu sitting next to Cheng Lingran with envy and sighed. Bai Fei asked, Jiang Xiu, you have been in school for more than a month. Why are you only eating with Ran Ran now? This question was very strange, and there seemed to be a deeper meaning behind it. Jiang Xiu said, I'm busy. Fang Yi said, Don't tell me you are Ran Ran's temporary shield? Jiang Xiu picked up a tomato from his plate and gave it to Cheng Lingran. She liked to eat sweet and sour things. As husband and wife in their previous life, Jiang Xiu was very clear about her various likes and dislikes. He looked up at Fang Yi. Shield? What shield? Cheng Lingran said, Don't listen to their nonsense. Fang Yi said, I'm not talking nonsense. Who in the school doesn't know how closely Long Tingwei has been watching you? It's not impossible for you to find someone to pretend to be your boyfriend. Cheng Lingran was startled. She had never thought about this question, but Fang Yi reminded her. What's wrong? Is someone chasing you? Cheng Lingran hurriedly waved her hand. She looked a bit nervous. It was unknown if she was pretending to be nervous, or if she was really nervous. In short, this behavior made Fang Yi and Bai Fei feel that Cheng Lingran cared a lot about Jiang Xiu. No, don't I already have you? How would I dare to get involved with someone else? Jiang Xiu didn't expect that there would be such a surprise during today's meal. It seemed that someone was really harassing Cheng Lingran. Cheng Lingran picked up the tomato that Jiang Xiu gave her and ate it without any hesitation. A normal relationship definitely wouldn't do this. There was a saying that there was a safe distance between people. When 2 people sat down, the closer they were to each other, the better their relationship. 50 centimeters was a safe distance. 30 centimeters was considered a good relationship. But now, Cheng Lingran and Jiang Xiu were sitting so close together that their shoulders would occasionally brush against each other. Only close relatives would do this. It can't really be her boyfriend, right? Fang Yi and Bai Fei looked at each other. They thought that if it was really so, then Long Tingwei would probably explode. Just as they were talking, there was an uproar in the cafeteria. Looking over, they saw a young girl walking into the cafeteria. She was wearing red clothes. Her long hair was tied up, and her skin was whiter than snow. Her eyebrows were like black, and her eyebrows were slightly raised. Her beautiful eyes were as sharp as an ancient ice spring. Her nose was straight, and she had a small red mouth. Her face was well defined, and she was extremely beautiful. However, there was no trace of gentleness on her face, nor was there a trace of youthfulness. There was only coldness and coldness. Red clothes were originally beautiful and unrestrained, but when she wore them, with her snow-white skin and coldness, she gave off a demonic coldness. Long Yingqing, the #1 school beauty in the school. Why is she in the cafeteria? It was said that among the 4 school beauties of the Imperial Capital University, only Cheng Lingran ate in the cafeteria. The other 3 had never appeared in the cafeteria. Jiang Xiu also looked at Long Yingqing and saw that she was walking towards them. She went straight to Cheng Lingran. Long Yingqing's gaze swept across Cheng Lingran's face. Do you think you're worthy of being called a school beauty? Cheng Lingran smiled and said, I've never thought of myself as one either. Long Yingqing said, these days some people like to be in the limelight. Beauties, school beauties, and titles. Their purpose is to attract rich husbands. To put it bluntly, they're just selling themselves. She deliberately emphasized the word selling, as if she was hinting at something. Cheng Lingran's expression turned ugly. I've always been very resistant to the school's vote, because I've always been with some cheap green tea bitch. Before she could finish speaking, Jiang Xiu picked up the still hot egg and seaweed soup and splashed it over. Long Yingqing's attention was all on Cheng Lingran. She was caught off guard and was splashed in the face by the soup. She was completely stunned. Whoosh. Everyone on the sidelines cried out involuntarily. Oh my God! He actually splashed Long Yingqing. Jiang Xiu's dormitory mates were all stunned. Damn, spiritual cultivation, you're causing trouble. You really have the heart to do it. Chapter 225. Long Yingqing was stunned. There were seaweed and egg blossoms on her snow-white face, and the soup was dripping down her pretty face. She blinked her beautiful big eyes in disbelief, and her mouth was wide open. She couldn't believe that this was the truth, but her face was hot, telling her that it was true. She had really been splashed by someone. Her anger rushed out like a volcano, and she angrily pointed at Jiang Xiu. She glared at the boy in front of her, wishing she could cut him into 1,000 pieces. You. After the uproar, the crowd became silent. Something big had happened. Something big had definitely happened. This blind guy actually splashed Long Yingqing's face. God damn it, this is Long Yingqing, the #1 school beauty of the capital university. How could you do it? Cheng Lingran widened her eyes in shock, and her best friends on the side were all stunned. Dang. Jiang Xiu threw the empty bowl in his hand on the table, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. The next time you dare to speak rudely to Cheng Lingran, I won't splash you with warm soup, but boiling water. Long Yingqing. Jiang Xiu didn't have any special interest in ice beauties. In his opinion, a girl's appearance was important, but her personality was more important. Moreover, this girl had offended Cheng Lingran. This was something he would never allow. You what? Do you want me to splash you again? Long Yingqing was furious. So you've found another flower protector. Cheng Lingran, you're really scheming. First you seduced Tang Yimiao, then you seduced my brother, and now you've caught this idiot. A voice came from the entrance of the cafeteria. Who's not afraid of death dares to bully Yingqing? A young man trotted over, only to see that Long Yingqing's face was covered with seaweed and egg blossoms. She looked very embarrassed. Without guessing, he knew that she had been splashed with soup, and his expression changed drastically. It's this idiot. The young man's eyes were full of murderous intent. He rushed up and was about to fight, but Jiang Xiu had already picked up a plate of shredded pork with garlic sauce on the table, and slapped it hard on the young man's head. The spiritual cultivation was steady, accurate, and ruthless. The young man's head was smashed, and he staggered and fell to the ground. Since Jiang Xiu had made a move, he would not stop there. He habitually went up and gave him a good beating. When Jiang Xiu splashed soup on Long Yingqing, Cheng Lingran had already realized that things were going to get out of hand. Now that things had gotten out of hand, she could only let him be. However, she was a little worried about Jiang Xiu, afraid that he would suffer. Sure enough, that young man was the vanguard, and several other young men rushed in. Jiang Xiu raised his legs and kicked the man down. He pulled Cheng Lingran and ran away. After all, this was a school. After beating someone up, it was best to leave the scene as soon as possible. Otherwise, there would be big trouble. The two of them escaped from the restaurant together, and ran far away in one breath. I can't run anymore. Hurry up and stop. Don't tell me you want to take me to the end of the world. Jiang Xiu saw that Cheng Lingran was out of breath and clutching her chest. When she really couldn't run anymore, he stopped and cursed. Fuck, you want to bully me with numbers? You. Cheng Lingran helplessly said. Beating people up is painful, but after beating them up it's troublesome. This matter could have been handled better. Jiang Xiu said. I'll take responsibility for my own actions. I was the one who beat them up. It has nothing to do with you. Cheng Lingran unhappily rolled her eyes at him and said, Do you think I'm willing to go through thick and thin with you? How can I get away with it? It sounded like she was complaining, but she didn't look angry at all. Instead, she had a smile on her face. At this moment, Cheng Lingran remembered that when they were young, it was Jiang Xiu who beat them up. She and her sister were cheering them on from the side. At that time, Jiang Xiu also went all out for the two little beauties, showing the spirit of a young man. Jiang Xiu said, If we weren't in school, I definitely wouldn't let them have a good time. They dared to scold you, absolutely not. Cheng Lingran whispered. I won't let myself be taken advantage of. Jiang Xiu said. I won't let you be taken advantage of either. Cheng Lingran's heart was warm and comfortable. Jiang Xiu's words moved her very much. Her long black eyelashes fluttered, and she whispered, Thank you. At this time, it was lunchtime. They ran to the science park again, but there was no one there. The two of them sat down on the grass. The grass in the capital was very clean. Many students liked to sit on the grass in the afternoon to read and play the guitar. Cheng Lingran was really tired from running. Girls' physical fitness was not good. Moreover, Cheng Lingran was prone to hypoglycemia. She hadn't eaten just now, so she leaned on Jiang Xiu's back. Jiang Xiu said, Why did that girl come looking for trouble with you? Cheng Lingran turned her face. I know a little, but I don't know the details. Maybe it's because of the campus belle selection. Someone said that she found someone to cheat her votes. In addition, her brother often comes to pester me, and because of this, I don't get along well with his friend. Minor repairs. Am I very annoying? Jiang Xiu shook his head. Since ancient times, beautiful women were the spoils of war in the eyes of many powerful people. The more beautiful a woman was, the more fiercely they fought over her. This was natural, and women couldn't control themselves. At Tianqing School, there was a peerless beauty. When Jiang Xiu met her, she was still a pink and tender little cutie. The person she loved was too weak, but the strong man who coveted her was too strong to be shaken. She was also a person with a temperament. In the end, this peerless beauty personally used a dagger to disfigure her own face, destroying her stunning appearance. When the strong man saw that her face was ruined, he felt pity in his heart and lost interest in her. In this way, that beauty could be with the person she loved. Originally, she thought that the two of them could be together forever. However, one day, she discovered that the person she loved secretly had a tryst with someone else, betraying her. She didn't dare to believe it, but the truth was right in front of her eyes. Why? That man was speechless. That woman looked at the beautiful face of the person her beloved was having a tryst with, and suddenly understood. The person she loved also coveted her peerless beauty, but she had already lost her beauty. What could she use to retain the heart of her beloved man? In the end, she let that man leave. This was an extremely ironic story, but it happened right beside Jiang Xiu. From then on, her temperament changed greatly. Because of the hatred and obsession in her heart, her cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds, and she finally became an immortal king. This person was the famous ruler of the White Lunar region, Nuya. Jiang Xiu said, I understand, and I also understand. Cheng Lingran looked at Jiang Xiu in astonishment. Don't you think I'm a bad woman? Jiang Xiu laughed involuntarily. If you're a bad woman, then there wouldn't be any good women in this world. His gaze fell on Cheng Lingran's beautiful face, and he discovered that her eyes revealed a trace of helplessness. Cheng Lingran said, Actually, I'd rather look ordinary. I don't want to cause trouble. Jiang Xiu said, If you look ordinary, you'll look at those beautiful school beauties and think that it would be great if I was as beautiful as them. This was human nature. Cheng Lingran was about to refute when her phone rang. Taking out her phone, she saw that it was an unsaved number. After hesitating for a moment, she picked it up. Hello. An unfamiliar voice sounded from the other end. Cheng Lingran, where are you? Who is that boy to you? He actually splashed Yingqing and even hit her. Cheng Lingran said, It's Long Yingqing who humiliated me first. The voice on the other end of the phone said. Anyway, this matter has to be solved. My sister, whoever offends her will not have a good ending. No matter what relationship that boy has with you, if you let him come to the gymnasium, he will definitely be beaten. Cheng Lingran still wanted to say something, but Jiang Xiu reached out and grabbed the phone. Gymnasium, right? 1:30, be there on time. Hearing Jiang Xiu's voice on the other end of the phone, the voice pondered for a moment and said, okay. Immediately, he didn't talk nonsense with Jiang Xiu and directly hung up. Cheng Lingran said worriedly, how can you agree with him? They are all children of rich families, and they do things recklessly. It's too dangerous for you to go. Jiang Xiu, trust me, it'll be fine. Isn't it just a fight? I've been fighting a lot since I was a child. Cheng Lingran gritted her teeth and said with a serious face, then let's fight together. I'll go with you later. If they really dare to do anything to you, we'll fight with them. Jiang Xiu said, okay, let's fight. Before that, let's go eat first. Otherwise, we won't have the strength to fight later. You're still in the mood to joke. Chapter 226. They couldn't go to the cafeteria anymore, so Jiang Xiu brought Cheng Lingran out of the school. There was no lack of restaurants in front of the university. Almost the entire street was filled with them. The two of them randomly chose a place. After Cheng Lingran sat down, she allowed Jiang Xiu to order the dishes. Jiang Xiu ordered the dishes that she liked, but she was thinking about how Long Tingwei would deal with this matter. Cheng Lingran naturally understood Long Tingwei's intentions towards her. She also knew how to use her own advantages. She guessed that if Long Tingwei wanted to pursue her, he wouldn't be ruthless towards Jiang Xiu. If she hated him, then his chances of success would be lower. The biggest problem right now was still Long Yingqing. She had zero interactions with this ice beauty. She was beautiful and had a strong family background, so no one dared to provoke her. She also hadn't heard of her bad reputation. However, from Long Tingwei's tone, this ice beauty seemed to be quite unruly. Jiang Xiu said, the dishes are here, let's eat quickly. Cheng Lingran said, wow, you ordered so much. It's just the two of us, can we finish it? Don't order so much next time, it's a waste. After the Cheng clan went bankrupt, Cheng Lingran also lived a hard life. It seemed that she also understood the meaning of frugality. Jiang Xiu laughed and said, we can finish it, I'm here. In the immortal martial continent, eating was purely to satisfy one's desire to eat. It was also for enjoyment. Eating was unable to replenish the calories consumed by their bodies. What they ate were fasting pills or other pills. Jiang Xiu's current appetite was a bit shocking, and there were no pills to eat, so he could only eat freely. Cheng Lingran picked up a piece of meat for Jiang Xiu and said, wait, obediently listen to my commands. Jiang Xiu said, listen to your commands? Cheng Lingran nodded seriously and said, yeah, I've thought about it. They probably won't go too far. At most, they'll beat you up to vent their anger. If it's really serious, I'll wait on you in bed. Jiang Xiu said, I don't object to you serving me in front of and behind the bed, but I don't think it will be that serious. Cheng Lingran said, Long Tingwei should be fine. The main thing is his sister. I'm afraid she's not easy to deal with. I know a woman's mind better than you do, so it's not wrong to listen to my instructions. When the time comes, watch my eyes. Jiang Xiu smiled and said, sure. In the afternoon, Jiang Xiu and Cheng Lingran arrived at the stadium on time. They pushed the door open and entered. The other party had a large number of people. There were 30 to 40 people. Oh my God, if it was someone else, they would be scared stiff. Long Yingqing, who had changed into a blue sportswear, stood at the front of the crowd. Under the support of a group of fierce men, her posture really did have the style of a big sister. Coupled with her peerless beauty, she really had a moving style. They're here. Long Yingqing looked at Jiang Xiu and Cheng Lingran with a playful expression on her face. You're very punctual. Jiang Xiu said, I'll do as I say. Behind her stood an extraordinary man in a white suit. It was Long Tingwei. His eyes swept over Jiang Xiu and a trace of disdain flashed across his eyes. Then his gaze landed on Cheng Lingran's face and he said, "Lingran, I tried my best." Cheng Lingran said, "Thank you." The person who invited them here was Long Tingwei, but now he was standing behind Long Yingqing. This was very abnormal. There was only one possibility. Originally, Long Tingwei wanted to mediate, but he was refuted by Long Yingqing. This also meant that Long Yingqing's status in the family might be higher than Long Tingwei's. Rich and powerful families were never judged by age, but by ability and influence. Cheng Lingran held Jiang Xiu's hand nervously, her face full of worry. What they had discussed before was completely useless. Long Tingwei couldn't help at all. Minor repairs. This is troublesome. From the current situation, it seemed that Long Yingqing was going to be ruthless. "It's fine." Jiang Xiu smiled faintly, then turned to Long Yingqing and said, "What do you want?" Long Yingqing said, "I want you to come in vertically and go out horizontally. Close the door." With a bang, the gymnasium's door was slammed shut. A huge echo echoed in the enclosed gymnasium. Jiang Xiu said, "What, you want to bully me with numbers?" A young man stood out from behind her. He was 1.9 meters tall, and was half a head taller than Jiang Xiu. His gaze was sharp and his every move was clean and neat. One look and one could tell that he had extraordinary skills. Long Yingqing said, "I won't be as tasteless as you. You can even lay your hands on a woman." "One by one?" Jiang Xiu smiled and shook his head. "It's really open and aboveboard. It doesn't matter if you don't plan to fight in groups or take turns. It's the same anyway." Humph. Long Yingqing actually took off her cyan sportswear jacket and handed it over to the large youth beside her, revealing a white sportswear. Long Tingwei, who was at the side, explained, "Yingqing stayed in the North Korea for 3 years and learned Taekwondo for 3 years. She learned it from a real Taekwondo master. Although I haven't tasted it, it's definitely not weak." He was very confident in Long Yingqing. She was a person who learned everything better than the average person, including swimming, riding, fencing, and so on. Her genes were so good that it made people envious. Jiang Xiu said, "Are you sure you want to fight me?" He really couldn't tell that this little girl had practiced. No wonder her temperament and eyes were so sharp. However, she really paid attention to her image. When he splashed her, she actually resisted the urge to hit him in public. It was true that one's appearance was born from one's heart. The colder a person's appearance was, the calmer they were. Long Yingqing said, "What, are you afraid?" Jiang Xiu couldn't help but laugh, contempt flashing in his eyes. Long Yingqing saw this and said indifferently, "My strength is equivalent to a fifth stage. Although I can't compare to a true expert, for someone like you, I can easily beat 10 of you." Jiang Xiu said, "Boasting, anyone can boast." Long Yingqing said, "Bring it out." A boy pinched his nose and carried a wooden bucket over. From afar, everyone could smell a stench. Cheng Lingran also pinched her nose. There was no need to say what was inside. This ice beauty actually had such a low level of bad taste. Only she said without changing her expression, "Don't you like to splash soup on people? 1 round to determine victory and defeat. Whoever loses will have their face splashed." Jiang Xiu said with a smile that was not a smile, "Are you sure?" "What? Are you afraid?" Long Yingqing said, "If you're afraid, you don't have to fight with me. This bucket, you won't be able to escape." Jiang Xiu said, "I'm afraid you'll cry later. Stubborn mouth." Long Yingqing shouted angrily. Her aura instantly came out. Taekwondo was very imposing, so she had to shout before making a move to strengthen her aura. However, for a great beauty like Long Yingqing to shout, it had a different flavor. She assumed the standard posture of Taekwondo, and threw a standard roundhouse kick in the air. It was really fierce. Although this little girl's face was cold, she had a lot of thoughts. She was deliberately trying to scare Jiang Xiu. Fancy fists and impractical legs. Long Yingqing's face became cold. "You're courting death." She suddenly turned sideways and approached Jiang Xiu. Her explosive power and speed were both very shocking. Compared to ordinary people, she was really very fierce. The black belt was not for nothing. Her kick was enough to send people flying 3 to 4 meters away. What a pity. She found the wrong opponent today. Jiang Xiu easily kicked out, and just happened to imprint on the back of her foot. Then, with a gotcha sound, Long Yingqing's fierce face twisted in pain. She let out a scream and her entire body fell out. Finished? Everyone present thought that Jiang Xiu would be beaten up. They never thought that after one kick, Long Yingqing would be beaten down. She fell to the ground and hugged her foot in pain. Her face was pale from the pain, and she broke out in a cold sweat. Cheng Lingran shouted in surprise. We won! F***CK, this result was really shocking. TSK tisk. Jiang Xiu's mouth made a strange sound. Can you still fight? If you can't fight, then this bucket. Long Yingqing's beautiful face suddenly lost her voice. She tried hard to stand up, but as soon as her foot stepped on the ground, her lips trembled in pain. No, it was so painful that she couldn't stand up at all. You can't stand up? Long Yingqing's beautiful eyes were round and round. She wanted to cut Jiang Xiu into pieces, but in her heart, she was complaining. She had dug a hole for herself. In order to take revenge on Jiang Xiu for splashing soup on her face, she had thought of many ways, but no matter how she thought about it, she felt that it was not enough to vent her hatred. It was only when her roommates accidentally mentioned it that she felt disgusted when she heard it, so she adopted it. But who knew? You admit defeat. Chapter 227. Long Yingqing's face was pale as she hugged her feet in pain. However, what was even more unbearable than this pain was what she had to face next. Just thinking about it made her heart collapse. Even rough men couldn't stand this kind of thing, let alone such a beautiful young lady. As for the people behind Long Yingqing, they were all stunned by Jiang Xiu's kick. They were all martial artists and knew the strength of a black belt taekwondo. They were actually defeated by him in one move. The way they looked at Jiang Xiu changed. He had some skills. Long Tingwei frowned and ran over to check on his sister's injuries. Seeing that his sister was about to cry from the pain, he angrily shouted at Jiang Xiu. We're all classmates. How could you be so heavy-handed? Jiang Xiu said. Not to mention, she was the one who initiated this duel, and that bucket of things. With just the strength of a black belt, what do you think will happen if she kicks an ordinary person? Should I just stand there and let her kick me? Long Tingwei knew that he was in the wrong and his expression was very awkward. Long Yingqing's roundhouse kick could break 7 or 8 planks. One could imagine the consequences of kicking a person's body. If it was kicked in the head, it would be even more unimaginable. Seeing that he was speechless, Jiang Xiu said to Long Yingqing, Long what? According to our agreement, then. Without waiting for her to finish speaking, Long Yingqing's face turned completely green. Her heart was about to collapse. You injured me and even wanted to splash that thing on me. Dream on, Jiang Xiu said. So you want to go back on your word? So what if I go back on my word? Long Yingqing would rather break her promise than let that thing splash on her. That was simply impossible to live. What are you all still standing there for? Beat him up. The dozens of strong men behind her were not just for show. Hearing the young lady's orders, they roared in unison and rushed towards Jiang Xiu like a tide. Cheng Lingren's expression changed greatly as she shouted, Minor repairs run. But she suddenly remembered that the door to the stadium was closed. Long Yingqing had already prevented them from escaping. Jiang Xiu said softly, Stand behind me. Cheng Lingren had her inner core, so ordinary people couldn't hurt her at all. Jiang Xiu was so worried that he forgot about this. He looked at the burly man who was about 1.9 meters tall and threw a punch at Jiang Xiu's throat. Before the punch landed, the wind from the punch was already blowing towards Jiang Xiu's face. It was obvious that the speed and strength of the punch were not weak. With a pull from Jiang Xiu, the man flew out from the side and slid several meters on the floor of the gymnasium. Flop! The second brawny man sent a kick over, flop. The third one, flop. The crowd that surged towards Jiang Xiu like a tidal wave split to the left and right. Jiang Xiu stood in the middle, his feet not moving at all. It was as if those people had been sent flying by themselves. Violent crashing sounds, accompanied by endless screams, rang out, each one more miserable than the last. In less than half a minute, more than 30 people were all beaten to the ground by Jiang Xiu. No one was able to get up, and they were all howling in pain. Dumbfounded, completely dumbfounded. Long Yingqing's eyes were about to pop out. My God, this brat was too good at fighting. She didn't know that Jiang Xiu was trying his best to control himself. Don't be so ruthless, don't be so scary. This was a school. After being stunned for a while, Long Yingqing suddenly realized something. She stood up with all her might and ran outside with one leg. Not to mention her leg was injured, she would run even if she lost a leg. She ran towards the gate on 3 tiptoes, and was about to shout for help. She had really kicked a steel plate this time. But something happened that made her want to cry, but no tears came out. The gate was locked. Fuck, she was the one who had asked people to lock it, and even told them to remove the key. All of this was to prevent Jiang Xiu from running away. Now she had screwed herself over again. Jiang Xiu's voice came from behind her. Long what? What about now? Long Yingqing turned around. Her expression was as wonderful as it could be. She said, Classmate, we are all from the same school. Why do you have to be so ruthless? How about we end today's matter here? Jiang Xiu's eyes turned cold. If I was beaten to the ground by your people and told you to stop here, would you agree? Long Yingqing's personality was cold, and her eyes were above her head. She never put people in her eyes. When had she ever given in to anyone? Today, for the first time, she had lowered her voice, and this bastard was still unwilling to forgive her. Hee, I will. I was just joking with you. Looking at the bucket of things, Long Yingqing didn't dare to imagine what kind of tragic scene it would be to be splashed in the face by that thing. Classmate, let's just let it go, okay? That beautiful face was pale from the pain. She was still trying her best to flatter him. Unfortunately, she was used to being cold, and that flattering look looked very funny. It felt like she was trying to act cute and coquettish. In order to avoid this calamity, she was going all out. Her image was nothing more than floating clouds. Jiang Xiu said, Do you think that's possible? There's nothing bad about being splashed by this thing. I heard that it can even help you lose weight. Long Yingqing was surprised. How can you lose weight? Jiang Xiu said. After being splashed by this thing, I guarantee that I won't be able to eat anything at all. I'll vomit when I see food, especially green. When I see it, I'll think of that smell and my stomach will churn. I won't be able to eat anything, so of course I can lose weight. Long Yingqing's gaze gradually became sluggish. Can we just let it go like this? This voice was completely begging. Jiang Xiu shook his head at her. Jiang, don't go too far. Do you know who I am? If the soft method didn't work, he would continue to use force. If you dare to do this, my Long family will definitely not forgive you. Jiang Xiu chuckled. Suddenly, Long Yingqing reached out and opened the door. It turned out that she had been leaning on the door for so long to open it. But in the blink of an eye, just as Long Yingqing was about to open the door and escape, she heard a bang and the bucket flew towards her. Under everyone's stupefied gazes, that bucket of stuff drew a beautiful arc in the air. Of course, it was inevitable that some greenish-yellow stuff would spill out. Looking at the bucket flying towards her, at this moment, the Ice Beauty's heart completely collapsed. However, it was too sudden. With a clang, the wooden bucket accurately hit her head, and the green and yellow things inside all poured out. Ah! What a tragedy! At this moment, the shadow in Long Yingqing's heart could be seen. Miss Yingqing! Those who had been knocked to the ground, as well as Long Tingwei, stared at her with their mouths agape. This was simply too much. They saw her standing there motionlessly. Her entire body was stiff as if someone had pressed her acupoints. It's over. The schoolbell's life was over. Unfortunately, none of these servants went up to help. Within a radius of 10 meters, no humans or animals could be found. You go over. You go over. Not a single person went over to save her. If Long Yingqing had a dagger in her hand, she would definitely stab herself in the heart and die. In the end, she took the wooden bucket off her head herself. She probably couldn't take it anymore. Her head was a lump, her face was all over, and her Her expression was no longer as cold as a snowy mountain, but as if she had nothing to live for. The corners of her mouth were twitching as she turned around and walked out. There was a river not far away, but if you went down, the river would be destroyed. Ishing. Everyone wanted to chase after her, but the ground at the entrance was also heavily damaged. They could only go to the other exit. After leaving the stadium and rushing towards the river, they heard a splash. Long Yingqing had jumped into the river. Quick, go get the shampoo and shower gel for Miss. Jiang Xiu added from the side. It's useless, you can't wash it clean. Long Yingqing was stabbed again. Jiang Xiu said. The #1 school bell of Imperial Capital University, now that you've been drenched by that. I don't know how many people will still think that you're the school bell. Will those otakus think that your white flesh stinks? Long Yingqing buried her head in the water and rubbed herself hard. Jiang Xiu sneered. Those who humiliate others will be humiliated by others. Do you think that you can humiliate others wantonly just because you're a little beautiful? Now let's see how you'll humiliate. Oh right, did you meet anyone when you ran out just now? Did anyone take a photo of you? What if someone took a photo and posted it on the campus forum? Next, without Jiang Xiu saying anything, Long Yingqing also understood that her reputation was completely ruined. At this moment, no matter how cold and arrogant Long Yingqing was, she couldn't help but cry. Since she was 3 years old, Long Yingqing had never cried. Today, she was forced to cry by Jiang Xiu. Surname Jiang. In her life, Long Yingqing had never hated a person so much. She wanted to eat his flesh and drink his blood. I'm not done with you. Chapter 228. Leaving the riverside, Cheng Lingren's eyes met with Jiang Xiu's. Her eyes that were as gentle as spring water revealed a smile. She couldn't help but laugh and scold. I guess Long Yingqing will really hate you for a lifetime. Jiang Xiu said. She deserves it. This is called evil people will be punished by evil people. Cheng Lingren said. Yes, you are a big evil person. Everything you say is reasonable. Everyone says that the East Continent is good at martial arts. You have learned martial arts, but don't be careless. Long Yingqing is not to be trifled with. Jiang Xiu said. I guess after today's lesson, I'm afraid she won't have the guts to find trouble with me for a while. Thinking of Long Yingqing's miserable appearance, Cheng Lingran couldn't help but burst out laughing. But she felt that it was not good to add insult to injury, so she quickly covered her mouth. However, her smiling crescent-shaped eyes deeply betrayed her. The Cheng Lingran in front of him was like a blooming flower, silently blooming and spreading her charm. You're so bad. I won't talk to you anymore. I have to go to class. Cheng Lingren's steps were very small. Her elegance and nobility were inadvertently revealed. From the smile on her face, it could be seen that she was unprecedentedly happy with Jiang Xiu. Long Yingqing felt that she couldn't wash herself clean no matter what. Moreover, she was still a girl, so she couldn't take off all her clothes. In any case, she felt that her entire body was smelly, and from time to time, she wanted to vomit. Seeing that she was about to go ashore, Long Tingwei reached out to pull her, but Long Yingqing angrily said, You don't have to pretend to be kind. Her whole body was wet and she was limping. She smelled bad as she walked towards the school gate. Along the way, she met a lot of people who were pointing at her. She could no longer hear what they were saying. She didn't need to listen to them to know that they were all saying bad things. The image of the school bell was destroyed. Destroyed in a day. To think that she, Long Yingqing, was so noble and arrogant, like a princess, no, like a queen, to actually suffer such humiliation, to actually be pinned on her head, vomit. She couldn't help but rush to the side of the road and vomit, even vomiting bile. Jiang, I will never let you go. Blurg. After vomiting for a while, she really couldn't vomit anything out. She felt that her entire stomach was empty. She felt extremely uncomfortable. The more she thought about it, the more aggrieved she felt. She wanted to cry again. She asked someone to drive her home. The first thing she did was to rush into her bathroom, take off her clothes, and throw them out of the window. The servants also pinched their noses and threw her clothes away. She hid in the bathroom and showered for more than an hour without coming out. She used an entire bottle of shower gel and sprayed perfume all over the bathroom. But no matter what she did, she still felt that she was stinking. She wouldn't be able to forget that smell anytime soon. She was worried that her classmates would take a picture of her miserable appearance and post it on the school forum. She put on her bathrobe and went to her computer. But what he was afraid of would happen. The forum had already exploded. A huge title, "The #1 school beauty Long Yingqing," has been sullied by that thing. Her entire heart instantly sank to the bottom of the valley. Her hatred for Jiang Xiu increased by a few points, and she quickly clicked on it. The first thing that jumped out was the photo. She had been taken as soon as she came out of the gymnasium. Her entire body was covered in that thing. When she saw this photo, blurg, Long Yingqing's snow-white face turned green on the spot. She covered her mouth and rushed into the bathroom. Jiang. The entire Long family's courtyard was filled with an uncontrollable roar, and the entire house shook. I, Long Yingqing, swear that I am irreconcilable with you. Blurg. Just as Jiang Xiu had said, Long Yingqing couldn't smell it at all. As soon as she smelled it, she immediately thought of that thing and wanted to vomit. She couldn't see green or yellow, and she wanted to vomit when she saw it. In the end, she really had to be put on saline. Aya, that beautiful little face looked like she had nothing left to live for. The elders of the Long family who had never seen her like this were really worried. How is Qingying? Still the same. I think we need to find a psychiatrist. He was here just now. A beautiful woman came out of Long Yingqing's room and sat down in the main hall. There was also an elegant middle-aged man present. These two people were Long Yingqing's parents. The psychiatrist said that she can't go to school anymore. It's best to change the environment and leave the place where the incident happened. If it's best, we can arrange for her to travel abroad. Long Xiaojing said. Then let's go to Europe. It's just right, let her take care of business there. Lin Yao, a short old man standing in the corner, said. This old servant is here. You can accompany the young miss to Europe. All right. He nodded and said. Then I will accompany the young miss to Europe tomorrow. That night, Cheng Lingsu accompanied him in the hospital. Jiang Xiu could finally cultivate in peace. Jiang Xiu's cultivation was currently at a standstill. The divine pattern was already complete. Logically speaking, he should be able to break through and become a god. However, he was suppressed by this world. Before he found a way, cultivation was useless. However, he had a kind of obsession with cultivation. It was like playing a game. Even though he knew that he couldn't level up, it was still very satisfying. Actually, there was no way to break through. The only trick he could play was to purify his divine power. Why doesn't heaven and earth let me become a god? Jiang Xiu really couldn't understand this matter. His situation was no different from Ji Wudao's. Although one became a god through cultivation and the other became a god through time, no matter which one it was, he still became a god in the end. Since heaven allowed Ji Wudao, it should also allow Jiang Xiu. Could it be that heaven was picking people? Suddenly, Jiang Xiu's expression changed. He felt a strange situation. His body faintly felt like it was about to break through. One should know that the last time he encountered this situation, he was suppressed by an irresistible force of heaven's wrath and vomited blood. His heart tightened, thinking that he was going to suffer another misfortune. However, in the end it was not. What's going on? Jiang Xiu's soul flew up into the sky and continuously ascended from the void. As his thoughts drifted further and further, Jiang Xiu began to feel a faint pressure. What's going on? Above the void, there seemed to be a mysterious and ancient existence calling out to him. Could it be? Last time he was punished by heaven, but this time he wasn't. There was no such thing in this world for no reason. There was only one explanation. The god positions in this world were originally full, but after he killed Ji Wudao, this god, there was an extra god position. That was why heaven's wrath didn't descend this time. And now, it was very likely that this was the way to become a god in this world. Thinking of this, he began to fly up against the pressure. In the pitch-black emptiness realm, he saw specks of sparkling light. That's... Jiang Xiu approached the specks of light above him, and couldn't help but be dumbfounded. He saw a beam of light, and it was exactly the same as the 3 divine lights in his body. Light of the divine Tao. There were many divine lights in the void, like the vast starry sky and the 9 heavenly rivers. It was incomparably brilliant. If Jiang Xiu's guess was correct, collecting the divine lights should allow one to become a god. These divine lights were different, and their functions were definitely different. However, he didn't have a guide, so he couldn't figure out which one was more familiar than the other. Is this a skeleton? In one of the divine lights, he could vaguely see a skeleton. He wasn't interested in this kind of evil thing. Is this a flame? This reminded Jiang Xiu of the fire god's curse in the ancient desert city. This is black. The aura of destruction is so heavy. As he ascended bit by bit, Jiang Xiu began to feel strained. It became very difficult to ascend. What is this? It seems to be a little similar to the divine light of the heavenly Tao. It's green. Jiang Xiu muttered. If it's the same, will there be a superposition effect? He planned to take a look and continue to ascend. This should be the divine light of the divine Tao. Not long after, he encountered a divine light that was very similar to the underworld wheel. As his divine sense ascended, the pressure became stronger. Jiang Xiu's head swelled more and more painfully. He couldn't bear it anymore, and it felt as if his entire head was about to explode. According to his cultivation experience, the more difficult something was, the stronger it would be. Thus he gritted his teeth and rushed to the highest point. Ah! Jiang Xiu's facial features began to bleed, and he looked very scary. However, he rushed to the highest point without any care. When he saw the strong light at the highest point, he didn't care what it was. He wanted to merge his soul first. Chapter 229. Just as Jiang Xiu was about to let his divine soul fuse with the highest divine Tao light, a voice suddenly came from the vast sky above. Who dares to steal the divine Tao firmament light? When normal people encountered such a sudden situation, their first reaction would definitely be to be stunned. But Jiang Xiu was an experienced person. He didn't care about anything else and just wanted to obtain it first. He directly wanted to start fusing with his soul. How dare you? That person angrily roared as a wave of power suddenly pressed down from above. This power was so strong that it was not something the current Jiang Xiu could resist. He was forcefully pressed down by this power from above. Jiang Xiu angrily said, "Who are you? Why are you stopping me from taking the divine Tao light?" That person coldly snorted. "Ignorant child, you don't even know who this god is and you dare to be so impudent. I am the ancestral court's Emperor Fu Yao, a lower god of this world. Lower gods like you are under my jurisdiction." Jiang Xiu was not someone who could be scared with just a few words. Since I can become a god and enter the void of this world, I have obtained the permission of the world to take any divine Tao light. You also have no right to stop me from taking any divine Tao light. That person angrily roared. Impudent. His voice was like the sound of the heavens pressing down, shaking Jiang Xiu's divine sense so much that it almost turned into nothingness. I am a medium god, so this divine Tao light is naturally under this god's jurisdiction. If this god doesn't allow you to take the divine Tao light, then it won't be your turn. This divine Tao light was at the highest point, so it was definitely the strongest, but this bastard actually didn't give it to him. Jiang Xiu said, "Your actions are going against the will of the heavens." Since there was a number of divine Tao positions, they could be controlled. It was just like resources. Some ambitious people wanted to bully others. This was the desire of human nature. What kind of person was Jiang Xiu? How could he be bullied by a small god and delay his cultivation? So what if I go against the will of the heavens? The man seemed to have made up his mind that he would not give the divine Tao light to Jiang Xiu no matter what. Jiang Xiu chanted an incantation. He wanted to use a supreme secret art to forcefully strengthen his divine sense. Such an action was akin to a blood explosion. It would cause immense damage to his divine sense, and might even endanger his life. But Jiang Xiu's nature was like this. Not only was he ruthless to his enemies, he was even more ruthless to himself. If it wasn't for this ruthlessness, he wouldn't have been able to achieve what he had today in the immortal martial continent, nor would he have been able to become the headmaster of the Tianqing school. Ha! The power of his spiritual force increased sharply in an instant. His whole body rushed upwards, desperately trying to snatch the firmament divine light. How dare you? Of course, he didn't use any secret technique that had huge side effects. Instead, he didn't use much of his divine sense earlier. Now he was just doing his best. Bang! No matter who it was, their spiritual will was invisible, but when the two forces collided, the entire void seemed to tremble. A mere half-deity dares to fight me? You're courting death. The power descending from above continued to soar. A demigod's divine sense was much weaker than a god's, let alone a mid-god's. As soon as they exchanged blows, Jiang Xiu felt as if the heavens were punishing him with an irresistible force. Boom! Jiang Xiu felt his divine Tao consciousness falling from the void. The firmament divine light instantly left him, and the other divine lights rapidly turned into tiny specks of light. Like a five-fingered mountain, they directly suppressed him. In the end, he fell into a bottomless abyss. Brat, you've offended me. Don't even think about taking away any of the divine lights, let alone the firmament divine light. This god officially disqualifies you from the position of a god. Jiang Xiu, who was at home, suddenly opened his eyes. It was as if he was holding his breath and floating to the surface of the water. His eyes, ears, mouth, and nose were all covered in blood. His entire face was terrifyingly cold. You won't let me become a god? Are you qualified enough? Since the number of god positions was limited, this must be the rule of this world. This was definitely not something a mid-deity could do. In other words, as long as he had the divine light, he could become a god. Although he couldn't get the firmament divine light, he had as many as 3 other divine lights. No, I have to become a god as soon as possible. There were limited god positions. Other than him, there must be others who coveted them. That mid-deity might even have a designated candidate. Since he could control the divine light, he could also control the candidate. He couldn't care less about his injuries. He recalled that along the way, Li Mi's divine light seemed to be hanging at the highest point. According to his judgment, Li Mi's divine light should be the strongest. Jiang Xiu decided to choose Li Mi's divine light of unknown attributes. Thinking of this, he no longer hesitated and began to let the divine light merge with him. This time it was a merge. Before it was just a buff. As soon as his divine consciousness relaxed, his whole body released a terrifying brilliance. Then, it broke down little by little and integrated into Jiang Xiu's body until it completely disappeared. At this time, the enormous power of the divine light completely broke out. Jiang Xiu felt that his whole body was in so much pain that it was about to explode. He clenched his teeth and made a gurgling sound, but he persevered and let the power of the divine light wander through his divine body, transforming his body and allowing the divine light to condense and take shape again. Rumble, rumble. Thunderous sounds came from Jiang Xiu's body. Countless divine light's power seemed to have substance as it rampaged through his body, constantly transforming and spinning wildly. He knew that whether or not he could become a god would depend on this moment. This feeling was like a person being molded like a clay figurine. All the cells, bones, and muscles were being reintegrated. One could imagine the degree of pain. Jiang Xiu's whole body slowly turned into nothingness. His whole body turned into a strong light, but blood kept seeping out of the corner of his mouth. With a cry, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Boom. At the same time, the entire room exploded with a strong light. This light shot up to the 9 heavens, reaching the sky beyond the heavens and into outer space. It was like a satellite being launched. He sensed a certain kind of affirmation from the heavens and earth, but he hadn't truly achieved it yet. He was about to collapse on the ground, but he still gritted his teeth and persevered. The power in his divine body continued to rise, and the divine marks on his arms became abnormally hot. His divine origin energy had yet to truly break through, and his divine body hadn't truly awakened yet. He was still lacking one final step. Oh no! Jiang Xiu realized that his power wasn't enough. In the immortal martial continent, in this kind of situation, one would definitely need to absorb more power in order to complete the final breakthrough. But here, there were no miraculous treasures or medicinal pills. It won't be a failure, right? He suddenly remembered that he still had 2 divine lights. He didn't care anymore. He also couldn't care about whether there would be a conflict between them, and an accident would happen. But now, if he didn't hurry and replenish his power, the consequences would be unimaginable. No matter what, the most important thing now was to become a god. Everything was for this final breakthrough. He activated the 2 divine lights in his body. Instantly, the brilliance of the 2 divine lights increased explosively. His entire being was like a light bulb as he started to fuse with the other 2 divine lights. This time, it wasn't as painful as the previous time. Instead, there was a sense of comfort. This caused Jiang Xiu to fuse with the divine lights even faster. Jiang Xiu frenziedly absorbed the 2 divine lights. The divine lights were like some kind of energy that was being devoured by him. Everything was converted into energy for his body with 0 consumption. Boom. Jiang Xiu's mind trembled violently. It was as if a big bang had occurred in his divine origin energy. In this instant, Jiang Xiu lost consciousness, as though he was in shock. His gaze was lifeless as an unprecedented amount of information surged into his divine origin energy. Awakened. Truly awakened. He sat down cross-legged, his long hair fluttering like flames. Countless amounts of confidence awakened, and finally, they condensed into the light of the divine marks on his arms. The divine talisman was complete. Finally, the first sound of the incantation could be heard. After which, his cross-legged body slowly floated up into the air. Below him, white smoke appeared, lifting him up. This feeling was extremely marvelous. His entire person flew towards the floor-to-ceiling window, but he didn't slam into the glass. Instead, he passed through it and transformed into a white smoke, rushing out of the room. Sinking down, Jiang Xiu's true body appeared, landing on the balcony. Transcending matter. This was the mark of a god. Only those who had reached the level of a god would be able to accomplish this. At this moment, Jiang Xiu had truly become a god. In this world, gods were supreme existences. But in the immortal martial continent, gods were just the beginning. Chapter 230. Jiang Xiu inspected his left arm, but there was no sign of a second divine inscription. This caused Jiang Xiu to be pleasantly surprised. Divine inscriptions were extremely meaningful, and were also the source of the divine physique strength. Usually the more divine inscriptions one had, the better. But Jiang Xiu knew that this was not the case. He had once met a supreme expert from the Buddhist sect, and that expert had revealed to Jiang Xiu that he only had 3 divine inscriptions on his body. However, the strength of his Buddha physique was so strong that he stood at the peak of the immortal martial continent. In the immortal martial continent, many people would feel fear when they saw someone covered in divine inscriptions, thinking that they were very powerful. Many weak people would respectfully greet them as Lord, when they saw how many divine inscriptions they had. They didn't know that the great Tao was the simplest. Although I didn't obtain the firmament divine light, the power of 3 divine lights is definitely stronger than a single one. Jiang Xiu coldly laughed. You probably didn't expect that I would become a god either. He turned and walked towards the bedroom, directly transforming into white smoke as he passed through the glass. A white smoke floated into the room before Jiang Xiu slowly walked out from the white smoke. The glass in front of him was like nothing. The next day, Jiang Xiu heard the sound of the door opening downstairs. He went downstairs and found Cheng Lingsu downstairs, her face full of fatigue. It seemed that she hadn't slept at all in the hospital. Seeing Jiang Xiu come down, she said, "You're awake. I bought breakfast, it's still hot. Hurry and eat." Jiang Xiu didn't say anything and sat down. He didn't reject the breakfast as he had a strong desire to quench his hunger. If Cheng Lingsu didn't bring any food, he would also go out to eat. Last night's consumption was too great. She took off her backpack and said, "I'm exhausted. I'll go take a shower and catch up on some sleep." After saying that, she ran upstairs. This little girl had never been so tired before. Jiang Xiu asked, "Is your sister going to keep watch tonight?" Cheng Lingsu stopped and said, "Yes, we did call for a nurse, but she didn't do her best. Dad will have to do a second operation soon, so the 3 of us can only take turns." Although Jiang Xiu was her son-in-law, Chung Ling-su had never thought of asking him for help. This was obviously unrealistic. After finishing his breakfast, Jiang Xiu went out. He didn't go to school, but to the hospital. He didn't sympathize with Chung Hanlin. He had always been prejudiced against Chung Hanlin because of what happened in his previous life. However, he couldn't bear to see Chung Lingran suffer because of him. In addition, he also wanted to test his abilities after becoming a god. Previously, he had been worried about how to use these 3 divine lights. Now the mystery was solved. Only after becoming a god could he use the divine lights. Moreover, each divine light had its own special ability. Among them, the divine light of the god behind the heavenly Dao sect was a green divine light. Jiang Xiu could feel that this divine light had given him an extremely strong life force. When he thought about the appearance of the heavenly Dao sect, it was a time of great calamity and there was no harvest. The divine light that strengthened life force had descended from the heavens to allow him to cast spells to solve the suffering of the people. When Jiang Xiu came to the ward, there was no one in it. Chung Hanlin was still sleeping. Sun Xiaohong should have been there, but the doctor called her away to discuss the second operation. Chung Hanlin's spine and limbs were injured. Even if he had surgery, he could only recover to the point where he could sit in a wheelchair. If he didn't have surgery, he would be bedridden. Count yourself lucky. Your daughter paid for your debt in her previous life. Jiang Xiu stretched out a hand and floated on his body. Suddenly, his palm emitted a green light. The light was very gentle and green, giving people unlimited vitality. The green light turned into sparkling dots and sank into Chung Hanlin's body. Then it slowly sank into his body. The power of a god began to give him a strong vitality. So it's like this. Things were as Jiang Xiu expected. This green divine light was the divine light of vitality. However, the divine light wasn't strong enough to make Chung Hanlin completely recover immediately. It only rejuvenated the necrotic parts. This still required a recovery process. When the green light completely sank into his body, voices came from outside the door. Sun Xiaohong pushed the door open and came in with a group of doctors. Sun Xiaohong was very surprised to see Jiang Xiu. She was very surprised. Jiang Xiu. Jiang Xiu didn't bat an eyelid. It's good that you're here. The doctor said that he needs a second operation. As a woman, I don't understand. You're very capable. Help me make a decision. Jiang Xiu said. There's no need for another operation. He should be able to recover in half a year or 10 months. The old doctor on the side said with a straight face, Young man, what nonsense are you talking about? The patient's injuries are so serious. Let alone half a year or 10 months, he can't even sit up without surgery. Jiang Xiu wasn't in the mood to argue with the old doctor. He walked straight out and left the ward. Jiang Xiu. Sun Xiaohong called. Jiang Xiu didn't stop. Ms. Sun, we still have to listen to the expert's opinion. In Jiangnan, Mr. Zhang's ability was legendary. Although Sun Xiaohong hadn't seen it, she had heard a lot about it. Besides, their relationship had eased a little. She didn't want to go against Jiang Xiu's wishes and make their relationship worse. She said, Let's observe for a while. This matter can't be rushed. Hearing this, the old doctor could only nod. They had to respect the opinions of the patient's family. Hanlin, wake up. Chung Hanlin responded. After the excitement of reconciling with the Jiang family, the pain of being paralyzed in bed for a long time began to torture him. He sat up and said, Just now I think I heard Jiang Xiu's voice. Yes, he just came. After all, he married our daughter. No matter how resentful he is, it's right for him to come and see you. Sun Xiaohong was stunned as she spoke. The doctors present were all stunned. The old doctor's jaw almost dropped. How is this possible? Why are you sitting up? A doctor on the side shouted. Impossible, your 12th and 17th vertebrae are all broken. It's impossible for you to sit up. But the truth was right in front of them. Chung Hanlin was also shocked. He just sat up instinctively and didn't pay attention to it at all. He felt very strange. His physical condition was particularly good today. He felt refreshed and swept away his previous state of weakness. That young man just now. He actually got it right. The doctors present had an incredulous look on their faces. A miracle, a miracle! The old doctor shouted excitedly. Hurry, arrange for an examination. I want to see what's going on with his spine. Hurry. The old doctor was excited. Paralysis caused by the spine was a problem that hadn't been solved in medicine until now. Inform Director Wu immediately. For a moment, the whole department was in a mess. It should be said that they were in a mess of excitement. After Jiang Xiu walked out of the hospital, he stopped a taxi and went back to school. When he was about to arrive at school, Jiang Xiu received a call from Wang Xintong. The matter in Europe didn't succeed. Before this, Jiang Xiu was already mentally prepared, but he was still a little disappointed when he heard it. Jiang Xiu said, "The other party refused to sell it?" Wang Xintong said, "That's not it. The people we sent found the auction house, but the contact information left by the person who bought the item was fake. The identity was also fake." Jiang Xiu said, "This person is quite careful." Wang Xintong said rather helplessly, "Well, then what are your plans next? Give up or send more people to Europe to track down the other party?" Jiang Xiu said, "If the other party wants to hide, it won't be so easy for you to find them. Book a plane ticket for me. I'll go there personally." If the other party was not an ordinary person, it would be useless no matter how many people the Wang family sent. The longevity stone talisman was very important to Jiang Xiu. If he wanted to strengthen the knife orb, it would not be enough to nourish it with his divine essence. It might not even take shape in 100 years. He could not accept this speed. He had to collect rare materials. Wang Xintong said, "You're going to Europe. Do you want me to go with you?" Jiang Xiu said, "No need. You just take care of the matters in Jiangnan." Wang Xintong said, "My father is here in Jiangnan. With the title of the #1 demigod in China suppressing Jiangnan, no one will dare to make things difficult for you. There will be green lights all the way. It makes no difference whether I'm there or not." During the mid-autumn battle, Jiang Luoxia's name shook the Chinese martial arts world. He even received special permission from Dao Yutai to integrate Jiangnan's resources. Who would dare to make things difficult for him under such circumstances? Dao Yutai would be the first to not let him off. Jiangnan's peace was the most important. Jiang Xiu said, "No need." Wang Xintong said helplessly, "All right, then be careful. I'll arrange it for you as soon as possible. Do you really not need me to go with you? I'm familiar with the place. I can be a tour guide." Jiang Xiu said, "I'm not going there for fun." You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.